Back in the day, I met Cassidy. I had issues with my hips and my stride, and he just went in there and fixed it. You know, he has a gift of looking at your stride and looking at your mechanics of how you move, and he came up with these tools that if you apply them every day, then you will release that and get that stride length. And I remember the first few races I did, half Ironman events, one in Florida actually, that I went to that race, and my stride length was short. I was dealing with some hip issues. He worked on me for 2 days prior to that event, and then I won that event and had the fastest run I've had in a half Ironman at that time. And so just the technology that he has is amazing. It's simple, it's easy, anyone can use it. If you have a tightness, you find the sore spot, you work on it with the quad baller or the ball, and it releases. For me, a daily use of it is imperative. So for me, it would be waking up, rolling out my feet, and working my way up to the calves and to the quads and the IT bands and the glutes and the piriformis, and working its way up. And all this knowledge I have really was things that I've learned from him in the day, 10 years ago. And I still use all of that technology now. As a matter of fact, I met a guy a few days ago that was not going to race Ironman this year because he was dealing with a quad issue. He was dealing with knee, as far as pain on the inside of his knee. And I talked with him for a few minutes, and he was sharing some of the symptoms that he was having. And I sat him down and I took the TP ball and I worked his quad in one area. And sure enough, it released it. And a day went by, and he went for a long ride, and he's back racing again this year. So he's going to be back after just a couple of days work on his quad. It's that simple sometimes.
The 2013 GoPro World Championship continues here on the big island of Hawaii. What a great race we're having. Meredith Kessler is having a great day of it out there. Caroline Steffen, Rachel Joyce, Jodie Swallow, they're all up in the lead of this race. The defending champion Leander Cave is right there. But this young man on screen right now, Luke Mckenzie from Australia, is making a hard charge for it today here at the GoPro Ironman World Championship. And I tell you what, this guy's serving it up to Starkowitz and Sebastian Kinley. So Luke Mckenzie's doing a fantastic job of it. All right, let's talk a little bit about Ironman Foundation, because there are a bunch of athletes that are actually racing right now. And today we've got Larkin Carter. He's wearing 533 today. He's in the 50 to 54 age group, and I tell you what, he's from Jackson, Mississippi, and he's doing a great job of it. And he says, I was blessed with no leg hair.
I want that blessing. It would be so nice to not have to shave.
You and
Shaving
Matt
is important.
Lieto.
But that's good. The bike, he loves the bike because he loves to go fast, and that's outstanding. But so these Ironman Foundation folks, it's that's the impressive stuff right there. I mean, obviously what the pros are doing at the front of the race is pretty cool. But these Ironman Foundation guys, that's where the true inspiration comes. They raise great money, do great things. That's awesome. Good stuff.
Yep. To date, the Ironman Foundation has raised more than $20 million for various charities around the world. The Ironman Foundation is excellent. The World Triathlon Corporation has set up a fantastic foundation to help charities wherever the races are. There's over 35 Ironman races around the world, over 60 70.3 races, and a whole bunch of others, including Iron Girl and 5150. So Matt, over the years, more than $20 million, pretty good.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We can't underestimate or not give enough credit to those guys. They're doing great work and raising a lot of money for people in need.
Yeah, and one of those guys out there that raises a lot of money, and he does it for World Bicycle Relief, is Jordan Rapp. I mean, I think just this year he raised, I think it was over $100,000 or so. Wow. And he's collecting bikes, and, he's delivering them to all these kids around, not only where he lives, but around the country of the USA.
It's a great cause, and I mean, all over the place, they deliver those bikes to Africa. There's 5 countries in Africa that benefit from that program, and it's really nice. Those people, they rely on these bikes. He made a kind of a fun stat the other day. He said some of these people, they won't even use those bikes to actually pedal. They load them up with several pounds on there, just like 50, 60, 100 pounds, just to wheel their goods. So they use that as a cart. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, it really is cool stuff. And Diana Birch and her whole team here at the World Triathlon Corporation, the race director, have put on another stellar event. During the week, we had the Keki Dip and Dash. We've had a training swim, the whole Ala training swim. Last Sunday, we had the Path Run. We've had a whole bunch of different events. And the other night, Hall of Famer Peter Henning, he was inducted. So we're going to have him on the show at about 1 o'clock today. So if you want to hear from Peter Henning, make sure you stay tuned. Also, we've got all of our text updates coming by way of Kevin McKinnon. And if you want to find your favorite athlete, go to ironman.com and go into the tracker. That's where you are right now. Go into the tracker, put in your favorite person's name or their race number, hit enter, and that's exactly where they are on the course.
Greggy, It feels warm under this tent, but it's
It's a
nothing
little
compared to
warmer than that.
outside where it's about 83 degrees. You've got a slight breeze here out of the south, about 10 miles per hour. But guess what makes it feel a little toastier? It's that 67% humidity, and it's never to be underestimated, especially down here at this picture where that's finish line and therefore Ali'i Drive. Kind of steamy.
Oh,
So
it's
hot.
very steamy
It's so
down
hot.
there, Matt. Right now, you were down there at the finish of the swim there.
Yeah.
Just standing out there, I mean, you just start dripping. It's absolutely incredibly humid right now. And, for everybody just hanging around downtown, all for the athletes alike, you have to hydrate.
Absolutely, and right now we look at Meredith Kessler, and she's got a water bottle between her arms. As you said, if you see it, you're going to drink it. So she's staying hydrated on the way back down from Hawaii, and she's in the front of this race and leading that women's group comfortably. She's, as we said, she's put a lot of effort into this race, and she is taking it to these women right now and looks comfortable. Doesn't look like she's moving around on her bike too much. Looks like Meredith Kessler as she should be. And she's been focusing a lot on her bike handling. She had a private coach come out, and she was working on getting comfortable on the bike, working on getting comfortable in the wind, because she rides a lot indoors on the trainer. And as a professional, you need to make sure that you're here we go. She's coming into the turn down into Kauai High. She's going to take
left turn here.
turn.
And Matt, this is the part we talked about right now. She's made this left turn. This is a 1.5 mile climb from right here. This absolutely the hottest part of the entire bike ride.
Absolutely.
If there's any wind, it's at your back. You don't feel it. This is when the athletes say, oh, goodness gracious, this is a really hard event. And they do say it in those exact words.
Absolutely, and I think I tell athletes if it's their first time here at the World Championships or the 70.3 at Honu, you feel like the hottest, slowest person on the planet in this section, just because it is so hot, and it's a grind, and it's actually a reasonable climb. That just the way the road is set up, it doesn't look like it's that much. It doesn't look like you're gaining that much elevation, but you really are. So what athletes need to remember is that everybody feels that way. Everybody feels like it's hot and it's hard.
I disagree.
Michael, maybe not.
I think some athletes feel a lot better than you did, Matt.
Okay, agree to disagree, man. Our friends at GoPro, the makers of the world's most versatile camera, want to hook one lucky Ironman fan up with a brand new Hero 3 Plus camera. GoPro is the exclusive camera of the GoPro Ironman World Championship. This is the same camera that the top triathletes use to train, including Pete Jacobs. To enter this giveaway, text GoPro to the number 69979. One lucky Ironman fan will win today. Text GoPro to 69979 now, and you could be the winner of the brand new GoPro Hero 3 Plus camera. Message and data rates apply. This promotion is limited to USA only. Again, text GoPro to 69979 to win a new GoPro Hero 3 Plus camera.
I just texted that in, so I hope you guys have a shot at winning because I'm
You're
trying.
not eligible.
There was nothing in there. You said nothing about employees are not eligible, so
I'll pass mine along. And so again, now we're coming back into this section, and this again, not to belittle it, it is a tough section. That's Leanda Cave. You're climbing out, and so here again, what's just ahead? This is a tough and tricky spot. Not everyone's been here. Not everyone's raced here. However, when I look at this, what I see is I see the athletes, and they're thinking ahead. They're saying, all right, here at the top of this hill, I'm going to take a right turn back onto the Queen K. When you're on the Queen K, you're around about 80 miles. You've got about 32 to 34, I think it's 34 miles back into town. This is a hard stretch. There are ups and downs still to come. So remembering this, you have a lot of racing to go. Many people, many expert people that have raced here say this is where the race begins. If you're ready to go, you go here. If you've really given too much or you're suffering, you can lose massive amounts of time through here.
Absolutely,
As you can see, the girls right now going up from Harvey. This time I'd like to thank another important sponsor of Ironman, the Ironman Pro sunglasses by Foster Grant. Foster Grant, the official eyewear of Ironman. Now, as you were saying, Mike, this is the long grind back up to the Queen Ka'umanu Highway, then 38 miles back into transition. Leanda Cave is working really hard, digging.
She is digging, and you know what? It's okay to dig right now. And here we see Rachel Joyce again in position. These women are right where they want to be. They don't see Miranda Carfrae near them, so they're happy about that. Otherwise, this is a nice, tight group of contenders. They don't have Caroline Steffen up the road. Everything to these three women is going very much according to plan. Again, noteworthy. These women, two here in sequence, they went 1-2 at another world championship in 2011, the I2 long distance world championship. Rachel Joyce taking first, Leanda Cave taking second. They're very good friends. They were roommates at that race. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses. Up the road, Meredith Kessler, once a training teammate of Rachel Joyce's. Again, I can't stress the importance of knowing your competitors' ins and outs, their strengths and weaknesses. It's quite useful. They are friends off the course, but right now, Not so much.
Not so much, and I think that's a great point, Michael. Is it, they know their strengths and their weaknesses, and I think that's why a group like this is staying so close together. Greg, we just look at the results, and through 75 miles, the top 8 women are within 12 seconds of each other. So they're all content to ride with equally talented women through this section. And as you said, Michael, that's where you take this next right-hand turn is where the race begins for a lot of the event. That's where the big gaps are made. The women, I think this group of 8 is going to get smaller, especially coming back up Scenic Point. It's going to get hard for that group to stay together. And the men's race, as broken up as that field has gotten in the last 20 miles, it is going to break up even more. You're going to have groups of 3 and 4 and 5.
So referencing Matt, Scenic Point, I'm just going to jump in there and explain to the viewers at home that are, again, kind of just like, what the heck is Scenic Point?
Yeah.
There's a spot on the course that's a long uphill. It's right at mile 90. It's a long uphill that really cracks the spirit, the will, and the legs of some of these athletes. Others will shine at that moment. That's where, as we talked with Bob Babbitt, he mentioned you can put massive time in that last 20 miles. Scenic Point comes right in there. You can shine or you can sink. Scenic Point, obviously, named for the pull-off where you can look and see this gorgeous view of that Kona coast, North Kona coast there.
Yeah, there won't be any pulling off to the side of the road today, I can guarantee you. Maybe if they've got a GoPro, they might get a nice fisheye lens look at this wonderful course that's been set up. Okay, so here we go. We're going to hit the Queen Umanu Highway coming right up, so we've got about 38.5 miles to go. We've got Leander Cave at the front of the race, Meredith Kessler, Caroline Steffen and Rachel Joyce as they make their way back toward the town now. You can see that the Belgian flag is flying there, and also you see the direction of that flag, boys?
Yep.
Southwest. So they're going to be coming all the way into a headwind as they make their way onto the Queen K Highway now for the very last time today. So here they come. Leander Cave goes around in second place. And let's remind you about what happened last year. The fastest bike ride was Natasha Bardman. She was 46 years of age with a 5:06.07. Caroline Steffen was 45 seconds back. And then in third place was Sonia Tajic and then Mary Beth Ellis and Leander Cave. And there wasn't that much between our top 4 girls. It was only 2 minutes that separated our top 4 girls. So you know that our girls right now are riding close to each other, and I wouldn't mind going as far as to say that these girls will stay with each other all the way back.
Look at this split screen. We've actually got Andrew Starkowitz in there again. So we are coming back and we are noting that this men's race is still in hot action right here. Look at that. That's Starkowitz. He said, you know what? I'm good. I wanted to set the bike course record, but I'm not in the lead. But I'm not giving up yet. Let me inch my way back and see if I can catch these guys.
No, absolutely. It's not over till it's over, and Andrew Starkowitz maybe had a moment there where he thought it was going to go away, but he's regrouped, and he's a professional, and he's given it his best. And those athletes are in a tough section. You're starting to feel the fatigue over the long day so far. It's super hot out there, as we said, with the high humidity. Greg, the conditions are fast, and as we see on our right top of the screen, we have a pass there on the women's field, and this woman is going all the way through, and she's going to, looks like, take over second place and first place.
Go Rachel. And that's the way to do it. Rachel knows that she doesn't need to muck around with what happened last year of people slotting in inappropriately, coming in too soon on their pass, any sort of rule infraction. She said, guess what? I can get around. I'm going all the way to the front. It's now responsibility of Meredith Kessler to drop back and allow that gap to form to 10 meters. If she were to neglect that step, she would be faced with a penalty. Rachel's in charge in front. She says, you know what? I want to control my own destiny for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. She looks great. She looks super smooth. And we got side by side, we got Andrew Starkowitz, Rachel Joyce, 2 athletes really getting after it on the bike ride, and 2 athletes that look very smooth and in control.
Let's talk again. I mean, just as a great opportunity to just look side by side of some of these. Well, hold on. Here he goes. Looks like he's actually about to ram right into that camera car, but while he's doing so, he's moving away and taking the lead back from Luke Mckenzie. He said, I still have some fight in me. I may be able to hit this Scenic Point, as we talked about earlier, that mile 90 mark, and be able to punch back into the lead and get my gap. Again, Andrew Starkowitz, the American, just ahead of Luke Mckenzie, our Aussie in green there.
We haven't seen Sebastian Kinley in a while, so I think that he's either tagging off the back there or he's gone right off the front. We've missed it, but I think that Andrew Starkowitz has actually got quite a lot left in his legs.
Yeah.
I think he wants to get up to the top of Scenic Hill and see what he's got left. I think for Andrew today, I think he'd love to get off the bike first and and just show everyone in the world that he is a legit contender. He did a 4:01 on his way to Ironman Florida last year, and I think he's doing it just fine. when you're going up to Harvey, guys, I mean, you can look across the other side of the road and you can see where everybody is. He might have just looked across the road up there and just thought, oh, well, Sebastian and Luke are coming. Maybe I'll just, have a little bit to eat and sort of prepare myself for the last part, of this race. And now on the opposite side of things, we've got our women we've got like 5 or 6 girls that are still riding together. And Rachel Joyce, she looks to me as the one that's got, the legs at the moment. She's the one that's really peppy. She's going to the front all the time, not letting that pace stop. Leander Cave keeps on coming through. Caroline Steffen's keeping the pace up. Meredith Kessler. Those 4 girls have done the majority of the work all day long. It was Jodie Swallow early, but they're all still together.
Yeah, I think right now in this women's race, you're going to start to see, as we said, it's a little more tactical than it's been in the past. I wouldn't be surprised if you see athletes like Rachel Joyce specifically going to the front and now trying to not just ride fast and be content with having this group together, but going to the front and trying to get some athletes off. I don't think an athlete like Rachel can run very, very well, but getting off the group with 9 isn't as great as getting off the bike with 3. So I think there's going to be some moves made by the women to try to lighten up that race.
And so Rachel Joyce also, she has confidence in her ability to go hard on the bike and back it up with a great run. She did that, of course, in Texas. She is confident enough, and she says, you know what, I'm going to go all the way. Rachel Joyce, very insightful. She knows this race very well. She talked to us earlier this week and gave us a few of her thoughts on how this race was going to play out.
In the week leading up to the race last year, I was just very practical about it. I kind of knew I'd put a lot of work into it, and, I had my family out here watching, and I just really wanted to be well enough to at least start the race. And it was only probably maybe even 2 or 3 weeks after the race that the kind of real sense of disappointment came through, because you kind of think, the training that had gone into Kona last year, and I knew had I been well, I could have put together a really good race, but I didn't really allow myself to dwell on that, just used that as fire in my belly for this year to kind of, do everything I could to get here fit, healthy, and stronger.
Rachel, she had an incredible race over at Ironman Texas early this year in May, won that race dominating almost by 30 minutes. She also won Muskoka 70.3 as well as the Kansas 70.3 last year. She's won Ironman Lanzarote in the Canary Islands, one of the toughest Ironmans on the circuit. Funny thing, she was born in Mexico. Could be some sort of developmental advantage being born there at a very high elevation, 9,000 feet, Mexico City. Not many people know that.
Yeah, exactly. So just a little update on the men's course at the moment. We've got Andrew Starkowitz in leading our men's race. He's in first, Luke Mckenzie in second, Kinlay 45 seconds down, Van Leert and Bockel at 2 minutes and 30 seconds down now, and Craig Alexander is at 6:05. Also, Pete Jacobs struggling a little bit, right back there with Craig Alexander as well. Rachel Joyce is looking like she's got a very good set of legs on her today, and she's at the front of the race and pressing.
So our men, I mean, it's absolutely amazing the way these men are sort of just still racing each other, race within a race, I guess you'd call it, and to have these guys tackling each other, going back and forth like that so late in the game. I mean, it's a good thing, and you can never really ease up. I feel like when you say, hey, I'm going to let this go, I'm going to just coast, it's never a good idea. You've got to maximize that, take every second that you can. Again, Luke Mckenzie, he's finished only 9th, as high as 9th, really good, but last year, not so good. Went a little bit aggressive, paid for it. Now he's doing a little more sensible build. Yeah. Still racing just really quite well.
Absolutely, and Luke Mckenzie is, he hasn't had great racing the last 5 weeks. Been a little disappointed with 2 races that he had, but that's the kind of results he had 2 years ago when he was 9th place, and he was confident going into this race. And as I said earlier, Greg, if you put Luke Mckenzie on the right day, he is, I would call him an uber cyclist, and I think a point proven that he's riding with Andrew Starkowitz, now with Sebastian Kienle. Last split, I got almost 45 seconds behind these guys. So Luke Mckenzie, as you said, Michael, building in quite well, but he's a very strong cyclist, and now he's going to push that pace, and it is blowing up. I mean, right now Luke Mckenzie Last we got, he's over 6 minutes ahead. Craig Alexander, a training partner and a buddy of his. He's not going to want to see Craig not having a great day, but he's going to be confident because he's putting that much time on a great athlete like that.
Right now, he's just looking up the road, too. He's saying, you know what, I'll take a gamble here. I feel like I can outrun Andrew, and I could just really partner up with him and associate myself with him. There's your Scenic Point, Matt. So we're just going through that spot you spoke of earlier. But again, at this point in the race, and this is what Rachel was doing, this is what these guys are doing, you always look around in a triathlon like this and you say, who around me can I outrun? You start thinking that. Am I better than him? Is he better than me? What do you got, Matt?
It is a very interesting dynamic. You see Luke Mckenzie is absolutely going as hard as he can right now because there's a rule. We can't tell from this perspective if he got within 8 meters or not, but if you get within that distance of your athlete in front of you, you have to make a pass. So Andrew Starkowitz at that time really accelerated.
Yeah, he couldn't get around him.
You could not get around an athlete of that strength. So right now Luke had no choice but to stay right where he was at.
But also there, Matt, he took a long look around his shoulder there. He looked over for a long time and he saw that he was way in front of the other guy. Sebastian Kinley is now hovering at 50 seconds down. He's got to be feeling good about himself to have a lead over Sebastian Kinley. Are you kidding me? He was riding with him and now he's dropped the 70.3 world champion. Kinley is riding a little bit back there, but he's going to have to now conserve his energy for a good run today. But Kinley, I'm still saying that he's going to be that 250, right just under 250 marathon runner on his best day, right? Today, that is. If he runs his best,
Correct.
he's going to be under that 250. Luke Mckenzie is now pointing at the aid station. I want that. You watch what he does. He'll get that nutrition in, and if it's water, he's going to put it over his head. Doesn't look like it's water.
Coke.
It might be Perform
Coke.
or Coke. So there he goes. He's going to grab that water. He's going to cool himself down and keep going.
Yeah, no, Luke Mckenzie knows what he's doing. He's a professional, and he's got a plan going into each aid station. He got his Coke. He wants that caffeine. As you said, he's pouring water over his head, drinking a bit. He's calling for more already. He wants the next guy.
So one of the things that Luke needs to do, and I feel like this, again, we start looking ahead. It's not time to run yet, but it's time to look ahead. He's doing that. He knows when he comes off the bike, again, take notes at home. When you come off the bike, you lose that cooling effect of the breeze that comes when you ride your bike. When that cooling effect goes away, you stand in transition, that sweat rate jumps up immediately. You need to account for that. You need to bring those fluids up as you're coming in that final 40 minutes or so on the bike. Luke also has to start thinking, and let's discuss this. He does not have a proven sub 3 hour marathon here. Sebastian does. Sebastian ran 2:54 last year. So Luke is thinking he needs to gain that. He needs to figure out how can I get in there because he's got to shave a lot of time off his personal best to factor in this.
Absolutely. I think you're right. I think Luke knows he's capable of that run. He's done that in other places, but not off of massive bike rides like he's having today. So you're right. He's the fastest cyclist in this group that he's in right now with, or fastest runner, I'm sorry, with this group he's in right now with Starkowitz, but he knows, he respects Sebastian Kinley. That guy's won 2 world championships at the 70.3 distance, was 4th here last year with a flat tire. Luke is an athlete that is very smart and educated on his competitors, and he respects his competitors. He has a lot of belief in himself, but he also respects the gifts of the competitors around him. So you're right. I think he's putting that effort in. And one thing these athletes, I think, are starting to realize is that they are absolutely decimating this field. So at a certain point, Luke Mckenzie needs to be okay, or is probably going to be okay with riding the pace that he is. He's probably going to let Starkowitz take the effort and get the glory here at this point to know that he wants the best result at the end of the day.
And again, Mike, at 85 miles shows and proves that it is the critical part of this bike course again. In between, Kauai High and Harvey, that section going up and coming back is that critical point where the athletes going up have to get all their nutrition in, make sure that they've got a nice steady cadence. But when they turn around, they've got 2 opportunities. First opportunity is to get special needs. Second opportunity is to go down the hill and get into a really nice, speed and to hold it and then get into Kauai High, and then you've got that last push. But the strongest cyclist always prevails at around about that 85 to 100 mile mark.
Absolutely, Greg. And it's when you look at this and sort of experience this and see how it goes, 80 miles is when that bike race starts. There's a point in the marathon when the true racing should and can begin. The race does not really get underway until those points. Everybody can ride really hard and really well for a certain point. 80 miles, that's a determining factor. When you get in there, you may need to take a mental break. Sometimes that mental break is something that even just gives you the chance to overcome those last 32 miles.
Mckenzie and Starkowitz lead the GoPro Ironman World Championship. Joyce, Cave and Stefan joins Kessler at the front for the women's. We're going to run off to a break. The specialised bike course will return right after this.
It all started 25 years ago with a sewing machine, a cyclist, a fashion student, and a simple idea: to build a better bike short. And from these humble beginnings, Segoy was born. While our garments have evolved, our core philosophy remains the same. We ride, we run, we make the gear that we want to wear. We're passionate about creating the best product for athletes, by athletes, so you can look and perform your best.
It flew, fell, dropped, slipped.
It slid out of my hand.
My trunks.
My pocket. Parka. Purse.
And sailed, skipped.
Whoa. Bounded.
Bounced.
No. Ricocheted.
Down.
Over.
Across
The beach.
the stairs. The rocks. And landed in a lake. Proof.
Settled in a creek. Proof.
And ended up in the pool. Proof.
Champions aren't born. Champions are made. Will, determination, greatness. Here, get made.
It's always about going faster because it's a race, but it's about going faster with the minimum input of energy possible. Minimising drag and aerodynamics plays a huge role because you want to be able to expend your energy in a way that you get a massive return on that investment, i.e. going further down the road and also saving energy for the marathon, which is a huge determining factor in success or failure in any triathlon.
When they leave early, I'll work overtime. When my muscles say stop, I say I can't hear you. But after it's all over, I listen and give my muscles what they need to repair and rebuild. Chocolate milk. Scientists say it works. My body says it too. So tomorrow, when the other guy says I'm taking the day off, I say I'm coming in early.
Hi, I'm Rachel Joyce and you're watching Ironman Live.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Recon Instruments, the official sponsor of the GoPro Ironman World Championship. Specialized, the presenting sponsor of the GoPro Ironman World Championship bike course. Hawaiian Tourism Authority, the Hawaiian Islands, visit gohawaii.com. And by Trigger Point, the official sponsor of the GoPro Ironman World Championship.
I think one of the cool things about Hawaii is it just really draws an active type of person to visit. So you have people that come from all over the world that just want to come here and partake of the beautiful weather and all these activities. It's really just a sort of a sporting paradise.
I go to the volcano a lot. I take a lot of lava photos. I do a lot of hiking. I ride my trail bikes, mountain bikes, tri bikes, anything under the sun.
You can obviously do triathlon, swimming, biking, and running activities are quite great, but then the water sports are limitless. You can stand up paddle, you can snorkel, you can scuba dive, you can be out there surfing, you can just swim in the open water.
The water here is rad. Open water swimming here is super fun. and there's fish everywhere along the way. There were dolphins out there this morning, turtles out on the swim course this morning.
The water is so clear. I've never been anywhere like it, where you can see the fish and dolphins, and it's just a whole range of undersea life that goes on. You can't describe it. It's unbelievable. You've got to actually get in there and swim.
I've been here, I think this is my 13th year, and I know I could spend a month and never see every part of the island.
There's nowhere like this place in the world. It really is exciting. You can't describe it. This is just a unique place to come to. You just got to come here and you'll be inspired to do something.
Welcome back to the 2013 GoPro World Championship here in Kailua Kona. Absolutely gorgeous, and the ultimate sports destination, of course, GoHawaii.com. We'd like to thank the Hawaiian Tourism Authority for all it is and has been doing for the 2013 GoPro Ironman World Championship, and to make it a success, visit GoHawaii.com for more information about the islands. What a beautiful finish line we have set up here, and I tell you what, we're coming to the end of the bike course. We've got 112 miles. It's almost complete for Starkowitz and Luke Mckenzie. Right behind that, we've got Sebastian Kinley there, Matt, and a few other races. Give us a little bit of an update on the bike.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to break up a little bit. As you said, Luke Mckenzie and Andrew Starkowitz on the front. Behind, it looks like about 55 seconds is Sebastian Kinley. And then we've got a couple little groups. Van Leerd, Butterfield, and Dirk Bachel are all in the group, and then there's a little bit of gap to Al-Sutan, and then the next group, Michael, maybe the faster runners in the field.
You know, the next group is the proven group of runners. So it's the, you know, even James Kenoma has run extremely well, not in Kona, but extremely well.
Yep.
Bevan Docketer ran extremely well in any distance in any race, just not yet in Kona. And then you've got Eneko Llanos, an incredible runner, has shown that time and time again. Craig Alexander, that group right there, if they group up together, that's where you're going to see those 240 or maybe even below. But that's where that split comes from. That just dynamic of running that group packed and staying together.
Absolutely. Timo Brock also in that group. I think the danger part in that is that they may or may not start the run 3 or 4 minutes down from Frederick Van Leerd, and I think he's the danger man. I know, Greg, you picked him for the win, and all of us knew he was one capable of the win. And right now we're looking at Luke Mckenzie, who is I was wrong. He's not ready to let Andrew Starkowitz take the pace. He wants to get as far forward as possible. He knows, as you said, Michael, Luke can do a 3 hour, 3:05. He's done that here in Hawaii. He knows that group that's 6 minutes behind him, they're capable of 2:45, 2:48.
20 minutes.
So
20 minutes.
You know, this is him. He wants his podium, but this is also him racing for his top 10 because there are a lot of talented runners behind him.
Well, and I think that's an important thing. Like, ultimately, you know, here's what I've seen. You know, you shoot for top 20, that's how you end up breaking through the top 15.
Yeah.
You shoot for top 10, you break through to the 5. If Luke shoots way up there for top 3, he's going to get a very solid and respectable 7th place, for example. That's phenomenal. You have to inch your way up almost every time.
Absolutely.
Well, you're looking at shots of Luke Mckenzie right now going past Hualalai. He's about 12 kilometres from the finish line here. As we see, that's about 7 or 8 miles away from the finish line. We're going to see in the next half an hour or so these athletes come sprinting into town on their bikes. You can see Mckenzie there just taking on everything that he can possibly get his hands on there, Matt.
Absolutely, and it's great to watch. As you said, he's putting water on himself. But Luke, he's done this 1,000 times. He's raced, literally probably 1,000 times, and Ironmans many times. But what you see him do at every aid station is point very far up the road down the aid station at one specific volunteer and says, "You're my guy. You're my guy. Give me that." And he's not trying to get with the one that's next to him, but he's making sure he's got eye contact, and the volunteer that he's picking for a reason. It looks like somebody that might be good at handling a bottle, right?
But he's a 5-year-old kid.
Exactly. He's got eye contact, and he went 2 for 2, and that's important in these races.
What's important is actually getting your nutrition.
Yeah.
So if you have to slow down and get it, or pointing it out, like you say, that's a very good thing to do. If you point to that person, you're committed, but also you have to be confident about the handoff, because when you're traveling at, like these guys right now, they're on a slight decline going down here because there's no uphill until the last push, right up until the airport. But these guys are heading, off. They're doing like 26 to 28 miles an hour at that stage. Getting a handoff from somebody who's normally standing still, well, that's a difficult thing to do.
It's no easy task. And again, one just little point of reference, both of these guys have aero bottles on their frame. It's a nice thing to do. It's a smart thing to do. What I've noticed with Luke is, because you cannot replace those bottles, you cannot take an Aero bottle and grab something off the course and put it in that slot. These are designed to hold only that Aero bottle. There again, we see Starkey's Aero bottle. But when I saw Luke Mckenzie, he was taking a sip off his. My speculation is that he's chosen to use his Aero bottle to place the bulk of his calories for this race. He's probably got a solid, dense pack of liquid calories in there, upwards of 2,000 calories even in the same bottle. It's a risky strategy if you don't pay attention. It's brilliant when you're on top of it. He seems to be sipping it, then you go to water, you dilute those calories inside your system. If you have basically 1,000 calorie or 2,000 calorie bottle, that can become a really painful gut bomb if you don't remember to dilute those calories. I bring this up because it's talking about the strategies and how each of these athletes manage. Luke, a seasoned vet, probably very well on top of that, but it's a unique move to see, again, that Aero bottle and how he utilizes it. Can't speak to Starkowitz's. His may well be the same. I see him, again, being pretty savvy with his fluid intake, being pretty good. He's got the Torhans mount up front, which is just a front bottle with a straw. I like the fact that he can use that and take a hit off of that bottle without breaking the Aero position, without getting up. You can be very efficient and not have to do anything other than sip away at the straw.
Yeah, it's very impressive right now. Mckenzie, as he makes his way back up toward the Kona airport here, he's still sitting in the saddle, whereas Starkowitz chooses to get out of the saddle, but in the aero bars, which it's a little bit weird to look at, but hey, you can still muscle out that power in doing that, and if you're comfortable doing it, that's fine. Luke Mckenzie right now, you can see that he's got a nice little cadence going, getting out of the saddle, just trying to grab every piece of wattage out of those legs. Right, he took a little, like a sneak peek behind him right there, Mike. I think that he's starting to tire a little bit if he's doing that, or if he's just trying to see where everybody is. But I tell you what, at this stage of the race, at about 106 to 108 miles, you're getting tired.
Oh, he's tired. There's no question. And so, I mean, he's trained to be tired. He's trained to race well tired, but it's a little bit of both. You always, they say don't look back, don't look back. I got to say that's a little bit of BS, because ultimately you have to look back. You have to,
tell us what you really think.
It shows a little bit of weakness, perhaps, if it's caught, if it's perceived. But what happens is you have to know who's around you. This also can give you a nice mental boost. So if he's looking back saying, hey, we really shook these guys, he may not know. Who knows if Sebastian's ridden back up and he's tucked in behind. So it's a nice move. As we look to this lower picture, because I love still discussing the women's race and how they're still really just unfolding so much. And I've got a shot there of Meredith Kessler's second wheel. I'm guessing that's probably Rachel Joyce up front.
It still looks like Rachel Joyce there,
just
Mike.
Just based on the white color, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Rachel's just having a great day. I think she's got the legs right now. We said it earlier in the show, but she's the one that's been really quickly to move. When you're going through the field, you don't make a slow pass. You make a quick pass, you get comfortable, you get into your position, and you get on with it. Rachel's been the one that's been doing that. Meredith has been flying under the radar the last, like 40 miles or so.
Sure.
She really hasn't been to the front of the course. She's been second, third, or fourth wheel, and now I think that she's looking at Rachel being her competition for the run.
Oh, you're dead on. And here's that beautiful thing I love to bring up is the psychological element of this. There's that component that just cannot be underestimated. Sure, this is a grueling physical event, but really so much of the mental game comes into play in these latter portions of the bike. So Meredith Kessler, she's choosing to sit back, not show any cards. This may lead Rachel to falsely believe that she's hurting. It could be a tactic. It could be something where she's like, hey, I don't really care what Rachel thinks, but it's something that maybe crossed her mind. Rachel out of the saddle showing, hey, you know what? I'm okay revealing my cards. I'm up here. I don't want to wait around for these women. I don't want to do anything. Meredith, I respect you. I know you. I feel like I can run with you. These two women, I think, very, very closely matched. They're the women that if you had to assess a strength, you'd really struggle with these two because they're so good at swim, bike, and run. You can't say which category the two of them falls into.
Yeah, exactly. And Rachel Joyce leading our GoPro Ironman World Championship right now. She hails from the UK. She's been right up here in our top 5 before, but today she's having the race of her life thus far. She's in a very strong position leading this race. Let's give you an update on our age groupers right now through 45 miles today on the bike. So Kyle Buckingham from South Africa was leading our age group race. From Scott Hobson from Australia, then Brian Fuller, Australia, Daniel Schmoll from Deutschland, also Mark Unger and Jean-Claude Ginchard from Switzerland. He was an old pro that we used to race against way back in the day there, Mike. And on our women's side of things, on our age groupers, just going through that 60-mile mark there, we had Stephanie Adam, then Astrid Ganzo from Belgium and Germany, then Vanessa Murray from New Zealand, Samantha Morrison from the USA, and Hanky de Boer from the Netherlands going through our top 5 girls. Susan Davis from the USA was in 8th place right there, and Catherine Thomas in 11th place. So pretty good for our age group is going through that 60-mile mark as well.
And for those of you age groupers back home that are aspiring to be here, are not quite here yet, we'd love to hear from some of you as well as our other people. So be sure to follow us on Twitter at Ironman Try. Go to our Facebook page. Send us some updates. Send us some questions. We'd love to hear from you. If you've got something out on the course, remember, your eyes and ears out there, they help us as well. So please remember, if there's anything we can do to receive that input, we'd love to have it happen. So again, these are our Facebook and our Twitter handles. We'd love to see you guys interact with us. I love answering questions. I love asking questions. I don't really mind talking. I don't really mind any of this. So shoot us a question. Let us know what you think. If you're wondering, for example, why has Rachel Joyce chosen to ride such a shallow wheel up front? The same thing Meredith Kessler did. Well, that's a good question.
Well, why don't you answer it?
I can do it if you want me to. In all seriousness, Meredith Kessler has had some issues before with bike handling, with age group athletes being in her way, stuff that has caused her to crash and fall, basically drop out of the race. What she's done is she's realized that the handling is most affected by the front wheel. So a shallow wheel is going to give her a little bit more control of that front end. You can go super, super deep with that rim in the rear and not have it affect your handling. So on top of that, yes, Welchie.
Yeah, so we got a couple of guys, on Twitter right now. Francois_biker, he says, "Hello, commentators at Ironman Try. My name is at James Kenoma, and I can run."
That's excellent. You know what? And we did mention him. So James Kenoma is out of South Africa, and we've talked about him. He's got some wicked run splits. He won, the Ironman in South Africa one year. He's probably done 20 plus Ironmans since the time when he first raced here in 2009. Ultimately, the running is what we're looking forward to seeing. He just scorched a race about 3 weeks ago at 70.3 in Cozumel, won that over a deep and talented field. James Kenoma, good point. Twitter viewers back home, that is a good mention.
So Becca Easley, Sound DSNR Becca, asks, Ironman Live Greg, why do you all keep saying specialised bike course? What's specialised about it? Hashtag Ironman Kona. So Becky, Specialized is our bike sponsor, and they're happy to be that. And we've got 112 miles of that wonderful Specialized bike course this year. So Becky, Specialized is our bike sponsor, and we're happy to have them. Also, another question out there is Don. He says, I wonder if Michael Lovato or Matt Lieto and Ironman Live Greg ever get awkward sitting on each other's lap for 10 hours straight. Well, that's a good question too, but we don't. We sit next to one another and we're quite comfortable that way. We love the conversation, we love the interaction of each other. And you know what the one thing is? We're very happy to bring you all the information that we're being fed, and we love doing our job here at Ironman Try. So if you've got any questions for us, go to @Ironman Try on Twitter, twitter.com/Ironman Try, or facebook.com/Ironman Try as well. And the hashtag today, I am Kona. So we're looking at great shots out there. Rachel Joyce still leading our race there on the women's. We've got Luke Mckenzie in the lead of our bike race right now on the Specialized bike course today, 112 miles, all coming to an end here pretty soon. We've got Luke Mckenzie is getting very close to the Kona airport. Once he gets to the Kona airport, he's got 6.5 miles all the way back into town. And again, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Ironman Try. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/Ironman Try. Luke Mckenzie here, he's a multiple Ironman champion, and I tell you what, he is looking very good today, especially the fact that he's in front of Andrew Starkowitz at the moment and also pulling away from Sebastian Kinley. It really says a lot about his bike training of late. He's been known to do a little bit of training with Craig Alexander and a few of the other top guys, but today this is all falling his way. Andrew Starkowitz is sitting on the back end of Luke Mckenzie right now, and he is absolutely ready to pounce. Starkowitz, he has the fastest Ironman bike split ever with a 4:01 in Ironman Florida, and he loves it. Okay, so joining me in studio right now is none other than the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of the World Triathlon Corporation, Mr. Andrew Messick. Andrew, welcome.
Thanks, Greg. Happy to be here.
Have you been having a great day so far?
So far, it's been fantastic. I just got back from Hawaii. We went out to the bike course, did a full loop of the bike course, watched the pro men come through, and not particularly windy out at Hawaii by Kona standards. there's a fairly strong 15-20 knot headwind picking up starting at Waikoloa, and so it's going to be headwind all the way back to Kona.
Picking up on the way back. So the forecast was southwest winds at 10 miles an hour. They could freshen up a little bit stronger, as Andrew was saying. Andrew, a couple of major announcements during the week.
Well, we announced 5 new races for 2014. We're going to be having 2 new races in Malaysia, 2 new races in Europe, and a additional 70.3 in Brazil. So we have Ironman Malaysia will be in the island of Langkawi.
Beautiful, beautiful.
It's fantastic. A September race.
Yeah.
Really a fantastic venue, great destination resort. We think it's going to be really attractive to Australian, Japanese, and Asian athletes. We'll also have a September race in Mallorca, which will be largely based on our 70.3 Mallorca course. It'll be 2 loops of that swim, 2 loops of that bike. Again, late season, it extends our calendar, and it's a great opportunity
and Mallorca, Andrew, being one of the hot spots for triathlon. A lot of the European athletes go down to Mallorca and train, in the winter months. Absolutely superb conditions, and everything down there. Everything's already set up. Just an absolutely natural landscape for an Ironman triathlon.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful venue. Water's, great swim, cool water, temperatures in the low 20s. And it's going to be a fantastic race.
And also successes this year in new races as well. Ironman Lake Tahoe was absolutely fantastic to watch. A little bit cooler in the morning than what people expected, but going to Lake Tahoe, they know that they know it's going to be cool. But it was a great race, and all of our other races around the world. So congratulations to that. Now the Ironman Foundation also has raised over $20 million over the years. That's absolutely fantastic.
Well, it's been a priority for us over the years to get back to the communities in which we host races. We rely on our partner communities. We rely on the volunteers in those communities, and for us to be able to contribute to those communities and to contribute to the organizations that are doing good and making life better in those communities, we feel is both the right thing to do and just a great way to make sure that we're always welcome, and that triathletes and Ironman athletes always find smiling faces in our communities.
Yeah, exactly. And David Duchesne is doing a great job of driving those messages into the communities, giving back to many, many thousands of charities around the world for different things. It's amazing what the Ironman Foundation has done. To this date, over $20 million raised. I want to talk about this week. This week has been absolutely brilliant. Diana Birch and her team have put together another experience like no other. On Tuesday, we had the Keki Dip and Dash. Last Sunday, we had the Ho'ala training swim over the course. We've had the run. We've had just about everything that you can imagine. Another Hall of Fame inductee. We had the expo opening up on Tuesday after the parade. And then today, the race today has been nothing short of exciting so far. How's your experience been all week long? And by the way, congratulations to William, your son, for wearing number 1 and finishing the Keki Dip and Dash.
Oh, it's been a fantastic week. He did his very first race ever, and I was a proud papa, and he told me that he wanted to finish. He was going to try his hardest, and he wasn't going to give up.
and he wore number 1. He was so cute when he got across that line.
So it was it's been a fantastic week.
Yeah.
The addition of the swim on Saturday really complements the path run on Sunday, which raises money for the development of trails and safe places for people to ride and run on the Big Island. And we're really trying to create more opportunities to get people here to interact with the communities, to be able to have more things to do with the friends and families of our athletes. And it's a fantastic week, and it's an absolute highlight of our year.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew, right now Meredith Kessler is leading our women's race. She's had another great year. She's been a great champion for us. This girl, is one of the great ambassadors of Ironman triathlon. Meredith Kessler did more than 35 races as an age group Ironman athlete before turning pro. Unbelievable for the brand.
Well, the embodiment of anything is possible, and she's just consistently gotten better and better and better over the years. Phenomenal swimmer. I think she was in the lead group out of the water, and a tremendous cyclist, and a very much underrated runner. And so she's super tough and super strong, and I think this will be her first real opportunity to be at the pointy end of the race this late in the race.
Yeah, exactly. And with over 52 countries represented, Andrew, you know, Rachel Joyce, by the look of it, is going to come up and make a pass on Kessler by the look of it. Our international pro field, it just it solidifies why Ironman and the brand of Ironman is so strong globally.
Yeah. Well, Ironman and Ironman 70.3 are global sports competitions now. There was a time when it was predominantly Australians and Canadians and Germans and Americans, but those days are gone.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong. The Australians, but we have races. We have age group athletes. We have professional athletes from Asia, from South America, from Australia, New Zealand, obviously, from North America. The athletes are coming from all over the world, and the age groupers coming from all over the world, and increasingly our races are coming from all over the world. And, our Budapest 70.3 will be our first race behind the old Iron Curtain, and Budapest has held the and hosted the ITU World Championships before, and we think it's going to be a great opportunity to showcase our brand of racing in a brand new market.
Yep, exactly. So 52 countries represented here today, and we're in just about that many countries around the world, with over 70.3 races happening around the world as well. And next year, the 70.3 championships, so the World Championships, Andrew, have moved from Las Vegas, a great 3 years in Las Vegas, 5 great years in Clearwater, and we're moving on. We're going globally. We're bringing it to the athletes, and we're bringing this 70.3 World Championship around. Traditionally, the Ironman has been here since 1978. Absolutely wonderful tradition, but you've decided to take it to the people.
Yep. Well, as I said, we're a global sport, and every one of our World Championship races in the history of Ironman and Ironman 70.3 has taken place in the United States.
Yes.
So I think it's a natural evolution to be able to start taking that race to other parts of the world. We'll be in Canada in 2014. We'll be in Europe in 2015. We'll be in Asia Pacific in 2016. And it gives all different types of athletes opportunities to be able to qualify for in a race in a world championship. And so we're really excited about it. We think that we're going to be able to create a very different world championship experience from Kona, because there is only one Kona. But we're going to be able to create a compelling world championship and world championship experience for professional and age group athletes, and we're really excited about it.
Oh, I'm excited about it too. I can't wait to go out to Mont Tremblant next year, just after the Ironman Mont Tremblant, which is going to be happening in August. Then in September we have Ironman Mont Tremblant 70.3 World Championship, and then about 5 weeks after we have our GoPro Ironman World Championship here in October. Andrew, I want to thank you for dropping by today. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you very much for your vision and what you've done for the brand of Ironman, and continued success in the growth.
Excellent. Thanks, Greg.
All right, no worries, mate. We'll see you later on. All right, getting back to the race right now, we've got Meredith Kessler. She's right up in the front there. Starkowitz is making his nose at the front known as well. We got 5 hours just ticked off the clock here as we make our way back into town. He's not too far away from Kuakini Highway. Once he reaches that Kuakini Highway, he's just a couple of miles away. Now, Starkowitz, he's right there at the Energy Lab. He's just going past the airport, so he's got about 6 miles to ride at the moment, number 52. Ironman rookie here in Hawaii, but he's got the fastest bike time in the history of Ironman with a 4:01 and heading for the first off the bike today. Andrew Starkowitz leads Luke Mckenzie in the GoPro Ironman World Championship. We're going to run off to a break and the bike wraps up just after. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Our world is full of opportunities, experiences, possibilities, adventures, and activities that shape our lives, that help us learn, help us connect, and help us perform. Our technology is there from the start. Join us.
Degree Antiperspirant does more for you, so you can do more. Only Degree has motion sense, activated by your movement. The more you move, the more it protects. Do more. Degree, it won't let you down.
Go to degreefootball.com for your chance to win the ultimate football fan trip to New York.
Foster Grant. Affordable fashion, ultimate sun protection.
Why would I wear anything else?
Fitting is something you should do 2 or 3 times throughout a season. I changed so many things about my position. I learned so much about, my geometry, the way I'm built and why I sit in certain ways. You guys are able to fit not only me to a position, but you've got the arsenal of products to make sure that position works, is comfortable and is functional. The position's there, everything's right. It's up to me to get the result I'm after.
Hi, I'm Leander Cave, and you're watching Ironman Live.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Foster Grant, the official eyewear of Ironman. Active, the official registration partner of Ironman. Tier, the official swim course of Ironman. Lifeproof, the official sponsor of the GoPro Ironman World Championship.
No. It's only decade.
Having a beautiful look here at the GoPro Ironman World Championship here down in Kailua Kona. Mike, beautiful look at the finish line here. Oh my gosh, doesn't that look nice?
Oh, it sure does. That's the place that we're all driving for. That right there is the finish line, the ultimate, the goal, la meta, everything you want. That's it. So
yeah.
These folks will see it soon enough, but they have a pesky little matter of 42 kilometers, 26.2 miles of running before they get to run up that finish chute and have that experience that we all love so much.
Exactly. So our guys are, just a couple of minutes away. We're going to go over to Matt Lieto and get a little bit of an update. But Jody Swallow just going through shot there at the moment. We're just over 5 minutes on the, 5 hours on the race course at the moment. We're looking at shots of Jody Swallow and our girls out there on the bike ride. But Starkowitz and Luke Mckenzie, they are very close to being back in town. Matt Lieto is he's gonna capture all that action down there. He'll give us an update as well when the guys come through there. But I tell you what, Mike, we are getting very excited because they're just moments away.
We sure are, and you were just panning away from the women back to Starkowitz. We had a funny little tweet come in, so keep those coming. We should have multiple tweets. We've tried to answer a bunch from one that merits a little mention was Norman Stadler, our bike course record holder, two-time champion on this race course. He tweeted in, he asked if someone could please turn up the wind because he doesn't want to see that record fall. These men do care about the record, but what they really care about is this whole Ironman. So let's not forget this Ironman is still at stake for contention here for the win. Somebody's taking that crown. Someone's taking the big caboodle. So right now, again, we've seen Starkowitz in and out of the saddle. I like this position. I like it a lot for him. It gives you that gravity, that pressure that you can gain by standing out of the saddle. However, he's still in the air bars. He's still also managing to use the more quad dominant, sort of the forward position, as opposed to hitting those kind of quote running muscles, the hammies in the backs of your legs here that get taxed.
Starkowitz is just he's less than 3 miles away. He's less than 3 miles away now, Andrew Starkowitz. And on Twitter we got Chris McCormack. Come on, Ty Butterfield. Unbelievable race so far. I'll be screaming my head off for you on the run, champ. Brilliant race. Belief, #belief. And then also Michelle Vesterby says Michelle's number 5 right now, 40 seconds down behind Rachel Joyce, #Ironman Kona. Jordan Rapp, there's one on there about Jordan Rapp. So I overheated on the swim, he said, but I got everything under control now, feeling pretty dang good at mile 100. So well done to you guys as well. And then somebody else, Blake Summers, was just saying, hey, James Kenoma, he can run a 240 odd, so he's done a lot of training in Cozumel, in the heat down in Cozumel. So James Kenoma, he's right up there at the front of the men's race as well, and he's done a little bit of training in Cozumel. So that's a lot of good heat training.
Oh, for sure, and he's fresh off a win down there again against a very strong field. He ran very well, was able to battle Terenzo Bozzone, who was second at the World Championships in Las Vegas. He beat Terenzo on that run in that heat and humidity. He also overtook and was able to drop Matt Charbot, one of the U.S. short course athletes, who took third. So Kenoma is a great pick. Thank you for tweeting him in. We've mentioned him before. We certainly aren't neglecting him, from South Africa by way of Cozumel and his training grounds. Also, the significant other of Jody Swallow, who's in our top 5 right now. Yes, that's her boyfriend is what that means. In any case, as we look at these men that are tearing up this course, there's a lot of action we haven't been able to show you. So let's discuss what's going on. People have said, what do you think of Pete Jacobs on this race day? I certainly didn't expect to see him lose 11 minutes. I didn't expect to see him that far off the mark. What I think is, if Pete maintains that champion's head that got him the win, it's not over yet. He can still come in and run his way into contention. The win is not out of reach. We've seen people blow up, slow up, give up on this course before. So certainly Pete Jacobs has some fight left in him, as does Crowe and other these contenders. We look at our other athletes, and I'll just keep talking about it. We see split screen here, and obviously this is very close to the end of our race. This is absolutely just, tucking in there towards the very end. He's going to take a left turn off of Makala onto the Kuakini. So he's going by all these shopping centers here that have popped up. He's going to hang a left turn at Kuakini, and he's inside a mile to go. Yep. This guy will be here in 2 minutes, 24 seconds. That's the time it takes to ride 27 miles an hour.
Oh, I got the clock on you there, Mike.
Check it. And so Starkowitz into transition first. We're all anxious to see that bike split, but really, you know what? It's a triathlon. Splits, Schmitz. We don't really care so much about the splits. I certainly don't. What I care about is how this triathlon shakes out at the finish line.
So as Starkowitz is coming up to Kuakini Highway, let's just wrap up the girls through 90 miles before we get to the guys. Rachel Joyce is our leader, 3 seconds down. Meredith Kessler, Jodie Swallow in third, Caroline Steffen, Michelle Vesterby, Liz Blatchford and Leander Cave amongst Amanda Stevens are all within a minute coming into like the 95 mile mark. Now we're at the 111 mile mark with Andrew Starkowitz. He's just about to hit the transition here, Mike. He's on Kuakini Highway. Just about, he's going to make that left-hand turn. Here he goes. He's on the last street right now. Kuakini Highway. He's going to make the right-hand turn on Palani. Then 400 yards to go before he hits that transition area number 2. And then he's going to be off onto the run. So Starkowitz has made that break.
He sure has, and he's thinking, all right, this, at least he should be thinking, now it's time to change gears. Let's think about this. Stretch out those calves, stretch out those hamstrings, get out of this position that they've been in, shortened for the last 4 hours something. So this guy's thinking ahead, and he knows, I'm the hunted now, I'm the rabbit, I'm the guy out front. I'm going to get a lot of TV time, but I don't want TV time, I want a top finish. So as he enters transition, folks, you're going to see at home, he's going to rush in, someone's going to take his bike. Unique aspect of our sport here at Ironman and certainly in Kona is that we have bike catchers. They grab that bike from you, they take it to your bike rack. So you are left to trot your way into the change tent just after grabbing your clothes bag, and then you run in and do your change. We can hear these helicopters, folks. They are right above us. This is so close that I'm salivating with excitement. I see a camera. I'm close enough to see this action. He is right about to take a right turn, and when he does, we are lucky enough, folks, bear with us, we are lucky enough to go to Matt Lieto, who is close enough to call these athletes off the bike, tell us how they look, how they feel, get inside their heads, and share it with you folks. Without further ado, we're watching Andrew Starkowitz turn onto Palani, and as we do, Matt Lieto, tell us what you see.
Starkowitz, our lead cyclist, is getting ready to come. It's hard to hear even those cheers over the helicopter. We know this is when the action happens. The GoPro Ironman World Championships, very quiet in this transition right now, but in just a few seconds, it's going to be pandemonium. And we see with the round helmet, Andrew Starkowitz, he wanted to get off the bike first here, Chris, and he has officially gotten off the bike first. He didn't get that bike course record as far as my watch, but we'll have to look at the official. And right now is a great time when we get to see what these athletes look like, what their stride is like. Andrew Starkowitz and all these big cyclists they're not going to look the same as like a McCormick or Andreas Raylert when they get off the bike, but you can tell Andrew does look pretty good. He looks okay. He's going to take his suit down. He's changing his he's going to change his outfit a little bit when he gets, we'll see what he changes into in the change tent, but right now he does the same route that he took on the way in from the swim to the bike, the very opposite. He's going to run all the way around this pier and then go and grab his his bag and these red bags here, and then through the change tent. And we're expecting very quickly we're going to have Luke Mckenzie and these other athletes coming through. But what did he look like as far as you could tell, Chris?
Honestly, I think Andrew looks a little bit stiff. He would have really pushed the pace in that last 10-15 miles to get a gap on Luke. We can see Luke Mckenzie coming in just about to dismount the bike. He's lost 55 seconds to Andrew from around that mile 100 point. To put a minute on someone in 100 miles, I can say Luke getting off the bike looks the far fresher of the two between Andrew and Luke. He's got a real good pop in his step. Andrew looked like he'd spent a lot of biscuits to get that minute break.
Yeah, spent a lot of biscuits. That's a good one. But yeah, Luke Mckenzie looks smooth. He looks comfortable. He's even shaking his shoulders out a little bit. We're going to have you look at Luke Mckenzie as we go through, getting his helmet off, getting his sunglasses off, looking smooth, already trying to tell his body, okay, we rode 5 hours. Now is the time to get the running legs. And he's opening his shoulders up, he's leaning forward, and he's getting that running stride already. The run doesn't start when you put the running shoes on. It starts as soon as you get off the bike. So Luke Mckenzie looking smooth, as you said, a lot more light on his feet than Andrew Starkowitz, but not to say that Andrew Starkowitz looked necessarily bad. He just, obvious, you can tell he's stiff. If you ever saw my brother get off the bike, he looked like he had a rod up him, so you never know what these athletes are feeling. But we're going to look at the outside of this tent, Chris, and we're going to see Starkowitz, and we have a unique position to be able to see the eyes. We race these guys, see what they look like, what their face can tell you. Very unique opportunity, and we're going to tell you guys, what do you think out of these two? What are you expecting to see when they come out?
Honestly, I think Luke being only a minute down from Andrew is going to be very content with that. I expect to see Andrew, maybe struggling a little bit. He pushed his whole bike alone, although he spent some time with Luke Mckenzie. Actually, there we can see Andrew coming out of transition tent now. And he does look a little stiff, but he's got his putting his run belt on and is slowly getting into his stride and just picking up some nutrition and starting that nutrition again. He's burned a lot of calories to ride solo off the front all day. It requires a huge amount of effort and honestly a huge mental toll. Where on the other side, Luke was with a group for a long time and he closed the gap to Andrew and has spent a little more time with people around him. We're about to see Luke run out of the tent here. Yeah, and he definitely, of the two of them, looks the much fresher. He's just starting his watch and, he's probably got a GPS on there or something and will really watch his pace over the first 10 miles. This section along Elite Drive can be deceiving. And, a guy like Luke who's had good and not so good races here, he would have learned from his lessons and I think has paced the day very well to this point.
Absolutely, Chris, and I think you say that he looks the better of the two, but to be fair, he looks great. He looks absolutely great, and I don't expect a lot of athletes to look better than Luke Mckenzie just looked, and he's got a gap of right now 2 minutes and 45 seconds as we see this next athlete coming through. 2 minutes, 45 seconds. This does look like Sebastian Kienle, who's capable of running 2:54, so that means Luke Mckenzie needs to do his PR to beat him, assuming Sebastian's going to have his best day, but Sebastian looks labored. He looks like he's not struggling, but he's definitely working hard. Luke did look a little bit better coming off the bike, and we've got the next athlete coming off the bike. I'm expecting to see either Dirk Bachel or Frederik van Lierde.
Yeah, that looks like Freddie van Lierde, and honestly, Freddie's 4:15 down on Andrew, but he is only 3:15 down on Luke, and just a mere 30 seconds on Sebastian Kienle. With the credentials that Freddie has, and having not raced a heavy season, and I think he looks fantastic and is in a great position. Having finished third here last year, he knows how to be successful.
Absolutely, Chris, and I think if I was a betting man, you see a gap. If you got an athlete like Frederik van Lierde with a gap on the class runners, you would consider him one of the class runners. If he came off with the 7 other best runners in the sport, I still might bet on him. So the fact that he's got a few minutes, it looks like, on these other guys, absolutely. He's in the driver's seat. He has great class athletes in front of him with Sebastian Kienle and Luke Mckenzie. He's going to have to take that away. But this gives an athlete, a runner like that, the opportunity to settle in at his own pace. I know me and you had chatted before that sometimes this 10K can be like a good 10K time. These guys are running 33 highs or 34-minute 10Ks because they get off in a group and they're racing each other. Frederik van Lierde can let those guys run 2 10Ks at 35-minute pace, and he runs 2 at 36:30. And as soon as they catch him, he can go again. He's got it. He's got time in the bag. And if the other athletes, as you said, spent too many cookies, he's going to be able to have a really great run out there.
Yeah, and definitely, if we look at only 40 seconds down on Kienle, we can't discount Kienle in his running. He has run fast before. He just had the 3rd fastest run split at the 70.3 World Championships. So he's clearly been working on his run. So, you might get a little dynamic action. You might get Freddie and Sebastian together on the run, and if the two of them can link up, I think the two boys up the road, they're going to be definitely, looking over their shoulder. What I'm kind of looking at now is, we haven't seen as you called them earlier, the class runners come into the field, and there's some 6 minutes down now. You think this is strategic. You think it's, they just haven't been able to hold the pace of these, truly all Uber cyclists.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's strategic at all. I think they just got popped, and especially with an athlete like Van Lierde, he's running out, as Chris said, over my shoulder. He looks good, and he does look very good. He looks similar to what Luke Mckenzie looked. They have different running styles. Luke's a little more high RPM, but Frederik van Lierde getting onto the run, 5 or 4 minutes back from Luke Mckenzie. It's going to be tight for that athlete to hold him off. As we said, Sebastian Kienle, a very, very class athlete as well, so you can't discount him. But as you said, we're looking at 7 minutes now to Starkowitz. We can't forget that Starkowitz is our leader currently. 7 minutes to him to these class runners, as we like to say, and it's no matter how good of a runners these guys are going to be, they're going to have to run now under 250 to be able to get the win. Some of these athletes that are in there will be very happy with the podium, but there's some like Craig Alexander and Bevan Doherty. He says he wants a podium and experience, but I know that guy is always starting a race to win. And I'm surprised to see the gaps that we're seeing now. But here we go, one more athlete coming through, and looks like this is Dirk Bachel. Dirk Bachel, we expected to see have a good bike ride. He's been 4th here before. He's been 4th and 7th. I want to say he was 11th last year. It could have been 10th, but he's a great runner. He's had some great fast run times this year. I think the best he's run is maybe a 2:53, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, and he looks pretty good coming off the bike as well.
He does look good, and again, just like Freddie, Dirk hasn't raced a heavy schedule this year. He got his qualification points to the KPR early, and has only raced one Ironman distance race this year, where he did go incredibly fast. So even at 8 minutes down on Andrew, some 4 minutes down on a guy like Freddie, I don't think we can discount him for the win, and definitely not a podium. But it just is, although we saw the splits on the bike, we were getting the feedback that Craig was some 9 minutes back, and we don't have our defending champion Pete Jacobs in yet. It still is, it's very shocking to see it as they come off the bike here. Next we got Varus Al-Sutan. This guy won the race in 2005 and was 5th last year. He I'm trying to catch a glimpse of his form, and he does look good too. Closely behind Varus, just trying to get a glimpse of the next.
We've got Pharisee 7.5 minutes down from Luke Mckenzie, 8.5. Tyler Butterfield right now with the race of the day. He was definitely focused on this race this entire year. He's been doing heavy training on the course here in Kona. I heard he actually ran a full marathon here not so long ago on the course. But Tyler Butterfield right now, breakthrough race of the day. He's under 9 minutes behind the lead, 8 minutes behind Luke Mckenzie in second place. He's close, 4.5 minutes. Quick math to Frederick Van Leer. He's a really good runner, and I think he definitely benefited from the fact that he was able to make that swim today, make that swim group, and not usually he has a couple minutes to make up. But Tyler Butterfield, swim and bike have been great. Let's see what he has in his run.
Yeah, for sure. I spoke to Tyler yesterday, the day before the race, and he talked to me about the concern of making the swim group. So when I saw him get out on that swim group, I knew he was in a fantastic position, and he talked about being completely okay with biking and running alone. And as you mentioned, he ran a marathon, or the full marathon course here. I can say that he has been building up from full marathons from when he was in Boulder. He started running at 3 hours, and he dropped him all the way down to a sub 2:40 marathon in training. So it may play to his benefit. He may have already spent his cookies, as I say again already. But I think Tyler is in a phenomenal position. He's a very talented athlete, but he is also a racer. He's someone who thrives off of being in a close contended race and having people around him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right, and we just see Dirk Bachel get through the change tent and look forward, and he looks really good. And I want to say he was the athlete that actually probably looked the most like you could tell he changed a gear, and he was aggressive. He put his chest forward, and he was ready for this run. He was attacking the run course already, just straight out of transition. And we're going to have these other athletes come through. 2 athletes I'm expecting to see pretty soon. Here's Ferris. He's just coming through. He's making sure he gets gold. This guy has some experience. He's one of the class athletes of this sport, and he got his way all the way back. I want to say 6th place last year, and a past world champion. So Ferris is taking his time. He knows it's the race is still out there, and it's a 3 hour, under 3 hour run out on those hot lava fields, and he's got a lot of work left to do.
Yeah, definitely got a lot of work to do. And I'll tell you what I'm noticing here, watching these guys run out. I understand we all know it's hot and it's humid, but they all are taking a considerable amount of time icing themselves off with those wet icy towels that they give you in transition. So it's stating the obvious to say it's hot, but I think these guys are really feeling the heat today. We had lower wind conditions, which lend itself to fast bike times, but it also lends itself to a very high humidity and a high heat, and that sun feeling like it's just sitting on the back of your neck.
Oh, I think you're right, Chris. That's great observation. And yeah, I mean, faster bike times it's nice to look at. It's a lot faster, conditions. But as you said, it can feel a little bit hotter when you're out there on the course, and it feels different once you get off the bike. It almost feels hotter when you're on the run because you're not getting cooled down, obviously, from the wind on the bike. And man, Chris, this is a lot more spread out than we thought it was going to be. We haven't seen splits, super recently, but we knew it was going to. I thought it was going to blow up at a certain point, but you've got 22 athletes that were within 20 seconds of each other, I think, all the way up until mile 40, if not 60. And now it's 12 minutes from the first guy, and we haven't seen a total of 10 athletes come through yet. So considering that these athletes have lost that much time, do you think the winner has already started that run for sure? Or do you think we have some athletes that are back here that might have the capability of running a mid 240, low 240 to get that run?
I think the winner is, I would actually say the podium place getters are already on the run course. We're looking at 12:30 from Andrew. The emissions that I'm amazed at are our 3-time champion Craig Alexander and our defending champion Pete Jacobs. Right here we have James Kenoma. This guy has won several Ironman titles, is an incredible runner. But again, as we're talking about, he's 12:50 down from the lead here, but still well within inside the top 10. I think we can safely say he's not going to be able to run for the win, but I think James has a running ability to put himself in the top 5.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think actually the way he's running, I think that's an athlete that we've seen athletes come from this far down. We don't know how much or how hard those athletes have been running or riding. I think James could possibly get himself into a podium position if he paces himself right. No doubt, he was the best looking athlete coming off the bike as far as the run goes. Timo Brocht, Bevan Doherty, Bevan on his first GoPro Ironman World Championships. It's going to be interesting to see how well he can run, but this guy's been at 2 Olympics. He's pretty class. Neko Llanos, 2 championship wins already this year. He's off as well. So we've got some really, really talented runners starting this run together.
Definitely, and having a guy like Timo Brocht, who's a 248, 245 marathoner, and then having the Kona rookie Bevan Doherty right behind him, that's a good place for a guy like Bevan to be, and he can pace off of someone who has a lot of experience. Again, Neko Llanos right on his tail as well. Neko, 2 championship wins, a sub 250 runner. He's in a great place to draw off their energy and to draw off their experience for a guy who's doing his first. Okay, next off the bike here we have Tim O'Donnell.
Yeah, Tim O'Donnell looks pretty good. He's he's a little back on his shoulders, looks a little bit tight, but he's gonna get his legs underneath him as he runs around this transition. And to our right, no doubt, James Kenoma is absolutely the fastest athlete out there. And when I talk about an athlete changing gears, I thought Dirk Bachel changed gears. Unbelievable. He is absolutely sprinting out of this transition, and I think that athlete has the opportunity. If he doesn't go too hard, he can get his podium place.
For sure, watching Kenoma run out of there, it truly looked like he was starting a 10K run in an Olympic distance race. He was right forward on his feet, chest forward. He had his shoulders open, very relaxed, looked good, comfortable form. And just to echo you, he definitely looked the best for a guy coming out of transition. And he has some amazingly experienced athletes who are behind him. And if they are to bridge up, he's got so many credentialed athletes to try and run with through the marathon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. And Tim O'Donnell right now is running through the tent, but a good group of athletes about to run out onto this run course. 2 athletes that you cannot ignore aren't there. Here's Neko Llanos. Coming out onto the run is the fact that Craig Alexander and our defending champion Pete Jacobs are not off the bike yet, while these other class runners are there. Here's Timo Brocht, Neko Llanos, Bevan Doherty, all starting the run together. They're going to have some fast run splits. They might not be able to run into the podium, but they're going to definitely have a good run. And right now I'm sure we've got some good footage and some insight from the guys up in the studio, and definitely want to know what you guys think about what's happened here. As I say that, Bevan Doherty, another one of those athletes that just changed his mindset, and he looks really good getting out on that run. So back to you guys up in the studio.
Hey, thanks very much, Matt. That was some excellent update delivery there down at the transition 2. Chris, thank you so much for that as well. Very good information. I'm just going to look at what we saw, which was just the other side of what you saw. They had their shoes on. They're tackling this first climb up Kalani. All these pictures, you're seeing them come across the camera right now. But just referencing some of the things that Greg and I have discussed amongst ourselves is we saw a lot of hot pacing going on. There were 2 athletes in particular that are both incredibly talented runners, Ty Butterfield and James Kenoma. Both of those athletes more than capable of running well. They just need to be very careful. We've seen them each go out extremely hot, and going that fast can really come back to bite you. So a little bit of patience in these early miles goes a long, long way.
Yeah, exactly. And Andrew Starkowitz spent a little bit more time in the transition area than the rest of them. Just about everybody picked up 30 seconds on Andrew out there. Luke Mckenzie was only 33 seconds going out. He was 59 seconds coming in. So he took a good slice of 30 seconds out there. Sebastian Kinley was at 3:20 down. Freddie Van Lee at 3:43, looking very dangerous. Dirk Bachel, Varus Al-Sutan, Tyler Butterfield, and James Kenoma. Let's talk a little bit about those two. They come from short course backgrounds. James Kenoma has been doing Ironman now for a couple of years. Very good. He's an Ironman champion, but he ran out really quick, and so did Tyler.
And I think that's really just the nature of James Kenoma. He is a risk taker in a lot of ways, and sometimes that pays off. It is something. So referencing a race that he did in Cozumel last year, a place he was familiar with, trained well in, he went in there and went out so fast in the opening miles of that run, he just completely imploded. So it was a little too much. He finished, I believe, 8th place in that race, came off the bike and was in the lead there. So Ivan Rania took that title with a solid 2:45, I believe, run. So that was definitely concerning to see James just really laying it down. It's exciting. Hopefully we see him at the next checkpoint settling into more of a rhythm. You do not want to make up that 11 minutes 30 seconds gap to Starkey inside the first 10 miles. You want to do that over the course of the entire marathon. So very good note you made there, Greg. And then we look at Ty Butterfield, and he did look incredibly good. He went out without a cap, no cap on his head, and that is a choice that some athletes make because they want to remain cooler, so not having that fabric heat them up, but it does also mean the sun is in your face and just beating you down. So interesting choice by Tyler. Again, he is very experienced with this island as far as a training standpoint. He was here the last 2 years training on the course, watching the race unfold. So again, Tyler Butterfield from Bermuda, anxious to make that land up in that top 5, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly there, Mikey. So in the 2013 GoPro Ironman World Championship on the Specialized Bike course, just getting off the bike right now, Starkowitz is still leading our race. Luke Mckenzie in second, Sebastian Kinley from Germany in third. From Belgium, Freddie Van Lee, Luxembourg's Dirk Bachel, Varus Al-Sutan, Butterfield, Kenoma, Doherty, and Bracht rounding out the top 10 there. What a great top 10 that is, but look at the distance. 13 minutes and 15 seconds. The boys up the front, they did some really big damage.
They did some damage, and you know what? Now we've got a whole lot of talent coming in behind a lot of talent. So obviously this is the understatement of the year. I mean, this is Kona. There's a lot of good guys here. Okay, there I said it. But what happens now is we look at it, I would expect, and I'm not saying this to jinx or hurt anyone's feelings, but I will say that traditionally we can expect to see in this day and age 2 to 5 of those men that are in the top 20, 2 to 5 of them will drop out. So we do see that. This happens in this race. It's an all or nothing mentality often. So 2 to 5 guys, you can count them out. As we start to look, patience is really going to pay off. This race is extremely hot, and you're pushing the limits. So best in the world, pushing their limits, hot conditions. You're going to lose a few of those competitors inside even first 10 miles. So expect to see that as we see what will pay off, what will give you a top 10 finish here, what will give you the win or just the goal you're after. What I think it is a combination of obviously a very strong and well-prepared body. We've all got that. Next in line is a bit of patience in the right place. You don't really need to take risks in this event until you get out onto the Queen K. That doesn't happen until 10.5 miles into this race. So patience, fitness, and then also a bit of gamemanship. Know that you can win this race by giving away the lead. You can see it run away from you and still perform very well. So these are components that everybody needs to have. Some of our rookies don't know that, and it hurts them. Some of our veterans very comfortable saying, you know what? I'm not going to win this race right now. I need to wait. Okay, this is case in point. Last year's Marino van Hohenacker sitting on the side of the road as the top 5 floated by him. So at one point in the race, everybody thought 8 minutes is too much. 8.5 minute gap, wow, it's over. Guess what? Van Hohenacker did not finish. So much fun to be had, and I'm excited to watch him do it. There goes Jordan Rapp on our screen, and right behind him is Ben Hoffman, 2 of our top Americans. Pop back, we've got our defending champ, Pete Jacobs, and of course the Mont Tremblant Ironman winner, Luke Bell from Australia. That is a talented foursome right there.
Yeah, very talented. Luke Bell had a fantastic year this year, winning Ironman Port Macquarie in Australia. And then also backing it up, in Mont Tremblant, and the three-time champion Craig Alexander just running out.
Yeah, that's just right there again. That is a champ. That's a seasoned vet. He's a guy that knows how to get it done, but he's also well behind where he typically is. Now we've got another American. That's TJ Tolletson. This guy out of Iowa, trains in Tucson sometimes. He's a champ at the Ironman distance, but never really hitting his stride in Kona. Right there, that man out of Austin, Texas, was our second-place finisher in Mont Tremblant. Brandon Marsh. He's a guy that actually has the U.S. title on his shoulders right now, winning that North American Championship. So de facto champ, finished behind Luke, but took the Stars and Stripes jersey. So, man, this is it, right? We've got a really fun scenario unfolding.
That looks a little rough right there.
Hey, you know what? I've been there. We've all been there. Anyone that's done an Ironman has that little bit of a struggle. You're running on your heels, and you're feeling like...
I think it looks like Marco Albert, is it?
Stretch me out. I believe you're right. So... again, you know what is interesting, and the fellas down there calling this race when they saw him come into transition, they see those first steps. Remember, folks, they haven't sat down yet. They haven't done anything. They haven't put their shoes on, their socks on. And believe you me, transition to that tent, there's benches. So you actually sit down. You've taken a load off for the first time all day, socks on, shoes on. You're usually going through a mantra in your head saying, shoes, socks, glasses, goose, something you want to tell yourself what your strategy is so you remember everything in transition. Often an athlete will say to a kind volunteer, please put sunscreen on my shoulders, and to another volunteer, fill this bottle with cold water. You grab your fuel belt, you strap it on. All of these things are done in the comfort of that tent. I say comfort because, again, it's the only time you'll sit down all day long on that bench. So, to finish my point, which is a long point I'm making, is those fellas saw and made analysis of how everyone looked off the bike. You feel dramatically better 90% of the time after you've left transition to tent. So now you've got your shoes on, you've got your little rest on board, and you've got everything sort of sorted and calm and situated. So when I see these guys gliding up Palani, I'm not surprised to see that they feel great.
Yes, exactly. So our 2013 GoPro Ironman World Championship continues and looking very good as we're seeing a few more of our athletes getting off the bike there. But we're going to go down to Matt Lieto right now, who's standing by with Dave Deschaines from the Ironman Foundation. Matt?
Yeah, thanks so much for that, Greg. Yeah, a lot of action out on the run course now on Elite E-Drive. We got some athletes running. The transition a little quiet at the moment. Take the opportunity to not sit down, but do a little stand-up with Dave Deschaines from the Ironman Foundation. A lot of athletes in the Ironman Foundation racing this weekend. Tell us a little bit about the foundation in general and the causes that we're raising for today.
Great, thanks, Matt. Yeah, the Ironman Foundation is the nonprofit arm of the World Triathlon Corp. Since inception in 2003, we've provided more than $26 million in charitable giveback to support initiatives around the world. And that goes from supporting different nonprofits in each of the communities where we hold our races. Each year we'll go in, we'll work with local nonprofits, and we'll just try to leave a little bit of Ironman's legacy behind in each of those communities. Here in Kailua Kona, we'll be providing more than $130,000 in giveback, and that'll be dispersed amongst approximately 40 different nonprofits here in the community in Kona.
Wow, awesome. And how many athletes do you have racing today?
So one of the things that we've done this year with the foundation is we've actually created an ambassador team for the foundation. We've partnered with our friends at Newton Running and recruited over 44 athletes from across North America who race the series around the world. And we've got 8 athletes who are racing here in Kona. Each of them qualified in respective races. And as we went from community to community, each of those athletes were requested to commit to a fundraising program. And as they raced in their qualifying races, we went into the community, did a service project in the community to show that not only does Ironman care, Newton Running, the Ironman Foundation, but our athletes also care. We appreciate everything that the communities do for us, and we're excited to be there and race.
Awesome, great stuff, and changing the communities that we race in, right? That's the goal?
That's the goal. It's commitment to the community through service and sport.
You say it a lot better than I do. Real quickly, anything else we should know about maybe how people can get involved in the Ironman Foundation?
Yeah, super easy. Go to ironmanfoundation.org. We've got all the information on a variety of different programs on how you can get involved.
Okay, and quick, back to the race, men's race. Who's your winner?
Sebastian Kinley.
Oh, you think he's going to do it, huh?
I think he's going to pull up. He's got just a few spots to dig up from.
Okay, sweet. Thanks for that. You know, we can count them on the podium, right? We're just sketching the trophy already. Right?
Yeah, check Ironman Foundation. Pick.
There we go. Awesome. Thanks for coming in, and enjoy the rest of the day. And back to you guys in the studio with more of the race.
Thank you very much, Matt, and thank you to Dave Deschaines. Over $20 million raised over the last few years for the Ironman Foundation and all the charities around the world that they do so choose in helping out. Okay, so Dave's pick, Sebastian Kienle.
Hey, you know what? A lot of people were picking him higher before they realized he was going to come off the bike in third. And you know what? The mark of a true champ is that he can roll with a new set of circumstances. And this guy has historically won from the front, but that does not mean he can't win from behind. So it's not a bad pick. But ultimately, as we look at Ronnie Schiltneck from Switzerland, former fourth-place finisher here in Kona, running in multiple Ironman Switzerland champion. You know, it can be done, but you have to really do a great job of just shifting your perspective. You have to say, you know what, I didn't come off in first. Can I just do what I need to do to run these guys down? You know, it's possible. Decent pick, Dave.
Yeah, I think that the way that you've got to look at it right now, you know, Starkowitz out front, Luke Mckenzie running in second place. And when we do get some shots of our leaders out on the run course, we'll be able to give you an idea of just exactly what they're looking like when they're running. But Kienle, for sure, he's one of those guys that I think that can put together a really good run time here. You know, last year when you looked at it, he had that 4-minute deficit that he had to face after losing it, you know, on the bike with his flat tire. Then when he got back onto the bike, he had to push so hard to get back into that position there, you know, where he was. And then he still ended up, you know, running a 2:54 anyway. So I think that it was pretty good. Today is going to be one of those days where the bike course for the most part of the day was pretty cruisy for the guys. But once they come back into the headwind a little bit, it did, you know, sort of start to, you know, sort the boys out, you know, from the men. So when they get onto the run course, I think that you're going to look at, like, today is going to be one of those very hot and humid days in town. Not much wind to be around, so I think a really fast run time is going to be hard to do.
You know, we've got sort of a perfect storm, though, because we do have a lot of talent that's desperate right now. So I guess what I mean is we have a lot of runners, quote-unquote runners, that are going to be in there really desperate to make something happen. And so that's when something special happens. Although the conditions are, you know, hot, they're always hot. So what I actually kind of think is the times on the run are going to be a little bit faster, partly because we have a grouping of talent that's desperate, and the other part is we didn't have a lot of wind on the bike. Last year, cycling times were a good 6 to 8 minutes slower. Now we're looking, you know, last year even 9 minutes slower. So what I see is the legs aren't softened like they have been by having a little bit of wind and getting tossed around on the bike. So I think we're going to see these guys come in. We've got a Janos who's desperate to make something happen. Kenoma, Butterfield, both a little bit aggressive. Timo Brock, who's run really well. All these guys, not to mention Tim O'Donnell, who's someone that was okay with letting these guys get away, throwing down on the run, trying to better his place of 8th last year. So, you know, a lot of these guys. And then Pete Jacobs, you know what? One thing that does not ever happen is you just never get a defending champ going down without swinging. You don't want to lose that title. It's something he's loved for a year, and he doesn't just let it go.
I remember back in the days where, you know, Peter Reid from Canada, you know, was a big deficit down on Norman Stadler. Norman Stadler had like 20-something minutes. He almost got back, you know, within that 10-minute mark, but he did face a huge deficit. People let, you know, on that day, like Norman Stadler go, and Peter came almost all the way back, you know, back into second place or so. But today, when you got to look at, like, the way that it looks right now, Starkowitz was off the bike, and out onto the run, he was 33 seconds ahead of Mckenzie. Then it was Kienle, Frederik van Leert at 3:43, Dirk Bachel at 7:25, Varus at 8 minutes, Tyler Butterfield at 8.5, and then James Kenoma was at 11 minutes and 30 seconds down. And then you go all the way down to Jordan Rapp, Ivan Runner, and Jammer, Hoffman, Jacobs, Bell, and Alexander, all at 18 to 19 minutes back. That is going to be tough to do, but they can claw their way back into that top, I would say top 6.
Absolutely. And you know what? So it's funny because Starkowitz did try to emulate the great Norman Stadler 2004. He loved that. He loved that approach. So he saw it work. The last time a non-Australian won this race was a German named Norman Stadler. He did it like this. Starkowitz gave us some of his thoughts. Let's see what he was thinking back on before the bike.
In time, I think I can replicate what Norman did on the bike, going out and just tearing the legs off on the bike so bad that people can't run you down. You got to play to your strengths. My playbook is the thinnest in the field. I have one play, and that's to swim my butt off, to bike my legs off, and just hold on for dear life on the run.
So that's good stuff right there, Starkey. And you know what? It's hard because you throw yourself out there and you say, I'm going to bike everyone's legs off. Your legs go off in the process, and then it's just a gamble of who's stronger, up top in the head to hold on to that drive when everything's sort of crumbling. And let's make reference again. And Marino, perhaps you're watching back home. You made the point in your pre-race interview last year to discuss, hey, this isn't mental. If my legs are cramping, that's mental. What a brilliant point. But on the flip side of that, it's a mental trick and a mental talent to cope with a physical breakdown. And I think that's where it comes back to is, can you cope with the body just not doing what it wants? I mean, multiple time champions have cramped, vomited, and still won. I mean, Tim DeBoom, projectile vomiting back in 2001, if we're going to go back to history, he still won the race.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you've got to do. When you look overhead right now from our helicopter, you can see these wonderful shots of Kailua Kona heading all the way down Ali'i Drive. That's Keaho Bay, all the way down there. We're going to be turning around at St. Peter's Church, just there at the top part of the screen to the left-hand side. That's where they're going to do the turnaround, and they'll wind all the way down Ali'i Drive. This is the only part of the course where they can seek some refuge, and that is under some of the trees out there on Ali'i Drive. Once they hit Queen Ka'umanu Highway again after Palani Road, it is all back out onto the lava fields again, down to the Energy Lab, and then back into town. So this part of the course, you get a lot of the crowd, so your adrenaline's pumping, everything's uppity, but once they get out onto the course on the lava fields, it turns very nasty.
It's a beautiful thing. And you know what? It's so cool when you come in and out of the run hot corner. So we have hot corners all over the place, but there's a really nice run hot corner that used to be kind of a focal point of the old course for the bike and the run pass. That's a spot where it does start to get real. The realities really come into play. So that's at the corner of Hualalai and Ali'i, just near the library. And you're going to visit it again when you've got about half a mile to go. But that spot, so you're coming in and you've seen the splits, you've seen it, and all of a sudden you've got about 9.5 miles into your legs, and it's there again. I talk about the reality setting in. That's when it's like, hey, you know what? An hour's worth of running, pretty easy. It's that hour and a half that follows, that hour 40 that follows. That's when the nuts and bolts come up and make their case. So, how do you know? Really, Welchie, you're in here. Your run course, a little bit dissimilar to this, a little bit different. So that run course for you back in the day, you had something different to face.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things. You had to train for that. You had to ride like those 100-mile bike rides and run 12, 13 miles off the bike. Once in a while. Once every 2 or 3 weeks, not every week, but you just couldn't do it like that. You'd wear yourself into the ground. But you have to do that in training to be able to withstand it. In a place like this, and train in an area. You've got to acclimate. The way that you're supposed to, and that is, go to an area which has some humidity and train like that. But don't train like that all the time. Only sometimes, because otherwise you'll wear yourself out.
This is great. Yeah, here we are back at the front of the race.
Is just amazing today, Mike. She's had the legs. I mean, we've said it all along today that she's got the freshest legs out of everybody out there. Her and Meredith Kessler. It's going to be interesting to see, who that is on her tail right now. If it is Meredith, and if it is Meredith, these girls are going to have a battle royale out there on Ali'i Drive because they're both known to be very good runners.
This is a dream scenario for these two because I really do think that Meredith and Rachel, again, so evenly matched and they know one another. It's really good. It's just really good company. So I'm saying Rachel Joyce, Meredith Kessler, they're rolling through this last really just 2 miles by my estimation of this course. A couple little rollers and then they're home. So the scenario that could play out here is that these two athletes can use each other and not begin to dig into their own emotional reserves. They can use one another to just get through those opening miles. It's a huge benefit. So at some point in this race, an athlete's going to have to really dig to the depths of their soul, pull out all that mental energy. If you can share burden and you can just kind of, just share that work. And again, I'll liken it to all of you athletes out there that have never raced Ironman Hawaii. You've gone on a training run with your friend. Remember how easy it was to run with your friend for 10 miles or 5 miles versus when you did it alone. So that's what it's that same benefit. Sometimes I estimate it's 8-10% performance boost. So these two women, they're going to try and kill each other, but they're going to benefit by one another's company in those opening miles.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that right now you can see our overhead shot. Down here at the GoPro Ironman World Championship, it looks like Sebastian Kinley getting very close to the front of that race at the moment. Him and Luke Mckenzie and Andrew Starkowitz have been doing very well out there at the moment. So this live coverage of the run segment has been brought to you by Rods Racing, fueled by Idaho Potatoes. ROD stands for Racing with Orphans with Down Syndrome. So Racing for Orphans with Down Syndrome, Mike, that is an unbelievable. You know, you can learn more about it and a way to work with these children at rodsracing.org. I mean, how incredible is that?
Oh my gosh, I watch the footage of this stuff and it makes me cry, and I know I'm emotional, but the thing is, it's so beautiful. They pair orphans with Down syndrome, children who've been given up, they pair them with the family, and I think the touching quote that I saw is, you know, this is not the case of a young child with Down syndrome getting a family. This is the case of a family getting a young child with Down syndrome, because they feel that is the gift. These children are so special. The gift is actually being presented to the family. And I love that, because they do just have this special knack, some of these kids, to just really see the best in life. It's beautiful. I'm crying right now, Greg. Take over for me.
All right. Okay, Rachel Joy, she's getting very close to Makala Boulevard here. She's going to make that right-hand turn. After she makes that right-hand turn, she's got about 2 miles to ride, and that is coming up very, very shortly. She's in the right-hand turning lane. Rachel Joyce is the next wave of UK triathletes. Goodness gracious, it's been Chrissy Wellington, it's been Julie Dibbins, it's Helen Jenkins in the ITU in the Olympic distance racing.
Corinne Abraham in Melbourne.
Corinne Abrahams and Leander Cave, the defending world champion, all representing Great Britain. This is Rachel Joyce. She also hails from just outside of London, and now she finds herself in the lead of this race.
I mean, we have so many. If you talk about Bella Bayliss, Katrina Morrison, I mean, we've got the UK breeds women triathletes, the same way Australia does their men. I mean, it's amazing, and it's not to say these other countries aren't incredibly talented and strong, but it's just a really remarkable thing that we've got such a tiny little island over there, a couple islands over there in the North Atlantic, just popping out triathletes like they're growing apples on a tree. But Rachel, so here again, we mentioned this before, but if you didn't tune in until this point of the race, Rachel Joyce has an amazing track record here. She has progressed nicely from 6th place to 5th place to 4th place in 2011. Last year, raced 6th, bounced back to 11th. Still, a lot of positive history. Meredith Kessler, for those of you that are wondering, has won a lot of races. She's probably done 40 Ironmans in her career, had raced 30 or 20 or so before she even turned pro. She was very accomplished in the age group ranks. She is someone that hasn't had a good track record in Kona, and so she's looking to find that positive experience, move her way up into the top ranks of this race.
Well, I think Rachel's got it all at her feet right now. This is the best possible opportunity she's ever had. Last year with a really, really bad race for her standards, when she was sick, she ran a 3:12. Today, she's at the front of the race. She's got good legs, and she's in for like a sub-3 or right around that 3-hour mark.
I think so. I mean, I can see her, if she needs to, I can see her doing 2:59, 2:57. I think that if it really came down to it and she was fighting these girls, it's possible, if she's got someone breathing down her neck, she's going to drop into those low 250s. She's that good. We saw her absolutely dominate Ironman Texas, and I bring that up because Ironman Texas is one of the few races on the circuit that can produce oppressive conditions that are very, very similar to Kona, with the heat, the wind, and the humidity. So you mentioned that respite or any of that rest you might get in the shade on Ali'i Drive. It's funny because it doesn't feel like rest or coolness or anything when you're out there. It's humid, it's stifling, there's no wind to speak of. The houses are blocking all of that breeze. You're in a residential neighborhood. You have occasional breaks where the surf or the sea is visible, and at that point you'll maybe get a little tickle of breeze, but it's very hot. You run straight out, turn around, and have to run back. So you double up on what I think is kind of a stifling little section that I think, it behooves you to manage those resources, manage the energy and fuel, hydrate and fuel.
Oh yeah, correct. And she's been training in Boulder, Colorado for the most part. It doesn't really have the high humidity levels, but she's been training at altitude, and she has been training very, very well. A little bit of training up there with Michelle Vesterby and yourself and all these people up there, so it's been really good to see. All right, so Rachel Joyce is just on her way down Palani Road right now, and I think we should toss it down to Matt Lieto because he's probably in a really good position to see Rachel coming into transition. Take it away, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much,
Joyce,
guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're down here. I'm still down here with Chris McDonald. We're getting all the action from the men's race has pretty much all come through. There's a few athletes that are still kind of coming through, but the women's race is coming on hot. And as we are talking, we do see our first female athlete, it looks like, and it does look like Rachel Joyce is coming off the bike here at the lead of the GoPro Ironman World Championships. Chris, I know you claimed to have picked her, but I want to say I picked her first.
Well, I am on record on a podcast having picked Rachel. You know, I watched her, and we actually have Meredith Kessler right on her tail. You know, Meredith this year, she's traditionally raced a lot of Ironmans, and I was speaking to a coach when I was out at Ironman Tahoe, and he made particular mention that this year it was all about Kona. You know, looking at the two of them getting off the bike together, honestly, they look pretty much identical. They're both of very small stature. Oh, and we have Jody Swallow. Within 30 seconds of these girls, you know, it really, you know, we've talked about it all day, but this women's race is so dynamic this year. And again, next we have coming off the bike. Can you spot who that is, Matt?
Don't put the pressure on me. I'll get the number as she goes by. Yeah, no, you're right. It's the dynamics is much different than it used to be in women's racing. And you see these girls, these women know that it is a race, and they're getting out there to win this race and be in the front of the race. And Rachel Joyce looks very smooth. Meredith Kessler looks good as well. And these two athletes that are chasing behind. In the last 4 years since I've been in transition, I've certainly have never seen the four front women be off in this period of time together. Definitely different racing.
I mean, they're within a minute off the bike, Matt. And, you know, I watched Rachel race at Ironman Texas, where she took the victory this year in May, and she raced in absolutely stifling, horrendous conditions, and honestly had one of the most amazing races I've ever seen from a woman. I think I said that, you know, had the great Chrissy Wellington still been racing, I think Rachel would have taken her that day. Yeah. So, you know, yeah, it's hot, it's humid here, but I think she can deal with these conditions. You know, I've seen her deal with these conditions probably better than a lot of the women have ever before.
No, great point. And I think Chrissy Wellington's nearby, so I might get her back on for another interview and ask her that question again. But no, I'll obviously respect to Chrissy, but it's just saying that Rachel Joyce is such a good athlete, and she handles hard conditions well. She's tough. But first out of transition, not going to let anybody else set the pace for her, is Meredith Kessler. Man, she looks aggressive. She definitely put her chest forward and is going as a 5-second gap from two ladies that have trained together a fair amount, had the same coach for a couple years, done a lot of hard efforts together. Rachel Joyce looks like she is definitely being aggressive, and that does look like Liz Blatchford, I believe, has come off the bike in 5th place. Is that correct, Chris?
Yeah, that's Liz Blatchford. You know, Liz has put a lot of training in for this race. Oh, she's just stopped in the penalty tent, so Liz is going to have to serve a 4-minute penalty in transition. She was the winner of Ironman Cairns this year, and has put a lot of effort into doing well at this race. Next off the bike is Carolyn Steffen. Carolyn was 3rd at this race last year. Did just compete in an Ironman distance race in Southeast Asia earlier, you know, maybe 6 weeks ago. And, you know, I actually questioned her doing that race, you know, with a woman with the ability to win this race, doing something of such tough conditions in Southeast Asia, again in the heat. You know, I was worried that it was going to take a little sting out of her legs.
Yeah, and she's 2.5 minutes down from some very good runners. She's capable of running the same as them, but she's 2.5 behind, so a lot more to go. But looking at the penalty box, we don't know exactly what happened to Liz Blatchford, but a 4-minute penalty, or if she stops at all, we know that that's a 4-minute penalty. And you only get that penalty if you do something that is a drafting or blocking that assumes that you were trying to gain an advantage. I'm sure she has a story behind that, but she's going to be in that box for about another 3 minutes. And right now we've got our defending world champion, Leanda Cave, has come into transition, and she's the first time that she's gotten on her feet, and I know she's talked a little bit about an injury, and she does look like she has a little hitch in her step.
Yeah, she definitely looks like she has a hitch in her step. She talked about, and which Michael mentioned earlier, she had a cortisone injection on her hamstring, and I got to say she is looking very tender. I mean, Leander is a fighter. She will, you know, she'll push on, and I'm sure she won't, you know, push herself to injury, but there's definitely a hitch in her step, and I would be a little bit worried about her at this point.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely worried about Leanda, watching her run off the bike just there. She definitely looks like, even as she ran 200 meters, she started to tighten up a little bit. So Unfortunately, Leanda doesn't look like herself, but she gave it her all as long as she could, and we'll see what she does here on the run and if she's in the condition to be able to run a marathon on this very, very tough course. So we are getting close to the time where Liz Blatchford is able to get out of the bike, out of the penalty tent. Just to note, you're not allowed to take any assistance. You're not allowed to grab your nutrition or your change bag. You can't really make any advances towards being on the run. You can take your helmet off, and you don't even sometimes sit down. You have some normal water, and that's about it. But you can't advance yourself towards being prepared for the run.
Definitely not. You know, even if you have to use the bathroom, take a bathroom break, if you have to leave, they'll restart that clock at 4 minutes. You know, looking at the penalty tent there and seeing Liz, the first thing that comes back into my mind is Tim DeBoom, who was a 2-time champion here. You know, he talked about, you know, reassessing his mind, just pretending he just got off the bike at home and he was taking a little sit down before he started his transition run. I'm sure that's what Liz is trying to do now. Next off the bike, we've got Dr. Amanda Stevens. You know, she was our swim leader coming early on in the day. She is around 5 minutes down from the lead, which is actually, you know, I think fantastic for Amanda. You know, she's known for her swim ability, but to be only 5 minutes down on the likes of Rachel, I think she's in a fantastic position.
Yeah, and obviously she's been riding by herself for a while, so you know that's a great race for her at this point, and she's running well. And it looks like Carolyn Steffen was 3:30 from Chris's watch to start the run. She was 3:30 behind, and right now we do have our defending GoPro Ironman World Championships female champion, Amanda Cave, and she looks better than she did when she came off the bike. She's maybe gotten a little bit of stretch out, but she doesn't look 100% like herself. But she doesn't look. I'm not as concerned as I was 3 minutes ago about Amanda Cave.
Yeah, and you know, we were probably looking at it and maybe jumping to conclusion with the hamstring. You know, she may have just been a little tight coming off the bike, had a few cramps in the last few miles. You know, I'm looking at my watch now and seeing about a 6-minute gap to the start, you know, from when the first woman got off the bike. And who I'm really looking for is Mirinda Carfrae. You know, I know Rachel and the girls up there, Meredith, have got like a 3:03, 3:05 marathon in them. You know, but we've seen Rennie run 2:52 here. You know, speaking with Chrissy earlier, she spoke about both those girls a few years ago being on 2:48 pace. You know, Mirinda's teamed back up with her old coach Siri, and I know she was incredibly fired up, and I know both of those women are incredibly, you know, determined and inspired women. So I imagine they would have been training to run the same similar pace. And you know, if she can pull that off, she's still, you know, well within striking distance of the win.
Oh, I think you're right. I think it's, you know, you got to stay to your race plan. And as you said, those athletes in front, you know, they've done 3:03s, 3:05s before. You know, you might say that on a great day they're capable of a 3 hour. On a great day, maybe Mirinda's capable of a 2:50 or 2:49. We don't know because she, you know, it's been a while since she's had one of those great runs. But yeah, the gap is getting close. You know, Mirinda probably needs to be off the bike in the next 3 minutes for her to have a chance at the win here. And you know, we're waiting for that. We're waiting for that moment. But you never count anybody like Mirinda out. And Amanda Stevens changed into a shirt, and she is moving out this transition.
Definitely, she's got that same pop in her step that Kenoma had. We saw Amy Marsh and Yvonne Van Vleuten get off the bike there within 20 seconds of each other. Amy looks a little stiff as well again, but I think that's just something that we're seeing today.
And here she is. Mirinda Carfrae is under 8 minutes down behind the lead women off the bike, so that means she is definitely within striking distance for the lead of this race. If she runs something like a 2:51, 2:52, and those athletes have their best run ever and run 3 hours, she has the ability to win this race. So this women's race got very, very interesting.
Honestly, Matt, just watching Rennie jump off the bike there and run through transition, a lot of the other men, women, all alike, they had that stiff back kind of, you know, look, cramping, etc., and they've got the transition waddle, I call it. So I'm watching Mirinda run through transition. She still has her helmet on, she has her hands high, and looks like she's already 5K into the run when she's literally 5 feet into the run. You know, it honestly looks incredible.
Absolutely, and I think me and Michael were talking earlier about, you know, sometimes you get dropped from a group or you get popped and it's your choice and it's not your choice. It's obvious Mirinda had a game plan and she stuck to it because she knows her weapon is the run. Last year she might have ridden a little bit too hard and ran too hard in the beginning and popped right when she was close to taking the lead away from Amanda Cave. But Mirinda Carfrae in a great position. And Chris, that group that started with 12 women that ended up, I want to say 9 halfway through and then whittled down to just, you know, 4 athletes coming off within a minute, they only put 4 minutes into Meredith Kessler. That is a great bike ride for Meredith Kessler, and now she has left herself the ability to win this race.
Definitely, you actually you took the words right out of my mouth. I was thinking this whole time. Meredith has spent 112 miles, 180.2 kilometers solo. She spent it alone, and to only lose 4 minutes and then get off the bike and look that smooth and that comfortable, it shows that she's actually a great cyclist and not just a great runner. To run well, you have to have the strength to bike well and have confidence in yourself. Having won the World Championships before, she obviously has the credentials, but last year to get so close, to run up to the back of Leandra and not be able to get over the top of her, I'm sure, it put a bee in her bonnet, and she will be, fired up. We're going now, she's just exited transition. She was exactly 740 down from the very lead, but looks amazing.
Yeah, she looks really good, and she's not necessarily sprinting out of transition. She's putting her stuff together, but she did not ride her bike too hard. We talk about some athletes that get stiff. They look stiff when they get off the bike. Meredith Kessler had perfect running form coming through transition, even as she was putting her sunglasses on and her race belt. So once she loosens her shoulders up and gets ready to go, she is going to absolutely unleash on this course. And depending what kind of energy she put out there, we might see a marathon record go down. We were talking to Mark Allen earlier when I might have been a little bit brash in calling the men's leader. It's already Frederick Van Leer. I didn't quite say that, but I would say Meredith Kessler is a great shot to win here today, but there is a lot of racing left.
Yeah, we say we're finished the bike and we're 2/3 of the way through the race, but we're truly not even halfway through the race. It's a cliche, and we say that the race starts at mile 20, and that's when the really, really tough part happens. But it's a calculated effort. Those girls, Rachel, Meredith, they know Miranda's coming from behind. They know she's run a 2:52 here before, and it's a complete calculation. Rinny is calculating that gap, but those other girls are also trying to push the gap. It's everyone playing their weapon. We all in training try and work on our weaknesses, but you never give up your weapon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. And one thing note, I think we were looking at a couple different athletes go through, and we missed Liz Blatchford come out of the penalty tent. She got off before Meredith Kessler ran through, so she's out on the run in the top 8, I would say, on a rough count. Still, and the top 10 women have gone through. We have the lead age groupers coming through right now as well, age group men, that is. And, a lot of great racing left, a lot out on the run course. We're going to go find a spot. As we see Gina Crawford, the great competitor, top 10 last year, the ability to run into the top 5. She's running really, really well right now. She just left the transition area and just started the run as we speak. So we're going to go back to you guys in the studio, and then we're going to relocate and have one of us go on Palani and see if we can watch this Timex run bonus, see who takes that. It's going to be a tight race for that, but I don't think any of the athletes that are out there right now are looking for that 5K. They're looking for the World Championship.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, buddy. And, like you say, we'll relocate and try and get that action. So back to you, Greg and Michael.
All right, thank you very much, guys, for that nice report down there. Rachel Joyce is off the bike first. Meredith Kessler, though, she was the first onto the run course. Jodie Swallow in third. Michelle Vesterby from Denmark. Liz Blatchford, Caroline Steffen at 2:31 down. Leander Cave, Amanda Stevens, Yvonne Van Vlerken, and Amy Marsh. But there was a really fast Meredith Kessler coming up behind those guys. This is the Rods, fueled by Idaho Potatoes, leaderboard here in the 2013 GoPro Ironman World Championship. And the Timex Ironman watch bonus coming up at 10.5 miles there, Mike. That's halfway up Palani Drive, and right now we've got Luke Mckenzie in the lead. He's got about a minute and a half or so over Sebastian Kinley. Kinley is closing, but Luke Mckenzie is only losing time to Kinley and not to anybody else on the run course at this stage.
That's incredible, and what a great feeling just to lead this race. Luke's seen his training mates do it. He's been up there before, close, but he's never actually led this race. So it's incredibly empowering to lead the race, any triathlon, and Ironman, but in particular this one. So looking at footage there of our women's race, and it looks like we have Steffen and Cave running side by side. We have seen those two. They left transition about 13 seconds apart. So funny thing to make note of is those bike splits in that standing we gave you. It stayed the same order, but a little bit of shuffling went on just in that tiny bit of time. It was sort of remarkable just from transition and from the start of the bike to the first 200 meters of this run. So we're looking down on, well, now we're back to the women, and this is a side-by-side shot of Leander Cave and Caroline Steffen. So our defending champ, are in 5th and 6th place, these two women. They left about 3 minutes 35, 3 minutes 48 seconds behind our leader, Meredith Kessler. So we've got this shot. We're looking forward to seeing everyone on Elite Drive. They're inside right at about 1.5 miles right now, and they're about to come up a nice little toasty run. Uphill here. It's a nice little toasty one, right? Isn't it, Greg?
Yeah, and then they go down the other side. They go past the beach, and then they'll be, out onto Elite Drive proper. About 2 miles or so into it, and then, they're heading out toward the turnaround. Once they get out toward the turnaround, they're going to head back to this point before they get to Palani Road. Now, we got an overhead shot of Luke Mckenzie before you were talking about there, Mike, and it was a great shot. Luke Mckenzie is looking really good at the moment. This is a different Luke Mckenzie that we've ever seen before. He's lean, he's lost a couple of little pounds, but his turnover on the run right now, he's right near the Sea Village right now, so he's only got, he's about 1.5 miles from town. So right here you can see that, Luke Mckenzie is just running really nicely with a very nice turnover. Sebastian Kinley picked up a little bit of time on him over the last split. So in the space of 2 miles, Sebastian Kinley picked up 10 seconds actually. He picked up 10 seconds, so he's going 5 seconds a mile faster. Whereas Freddie Van Leerd only picked up 3 seconds, so he's only running 1.5 seconds faster per mile. So therefore, Luke Mckenzie's looking pretty good. And by the look of it, he's going to take the Timex Ironman watch bonus.
He should. He should definitely be able to hold on to that. He's approximately 2 miles away from that point right now, 2 miles away from that Timex run preem. So Mckenzie, looking at him, I mean, you might say, hey, this guy's wearing a trucker hat. This guy's got a long sleeve jersey on. All that stuff is by design. So this trucker hat does have that meshy back, so maybe he's thinking, I like to have that old school hat on here just to cool the back of my noggin, but I have to have something covering up my face. The other thing I look at is he's got that jersey that Saucony's produced for him, and it's something that is sort of a new thing where people are wearing these sleeves. You saw Van Hoenacker do it for a couple years now, but something that could be an aid. Again, I've made it clear that I feel more fabric on you, the worse in an environment like this, just because I think that your skin has a marvelous cooling effect in and of itself. It does a good job, but interesting to note.
Well, the fabric, right now these days, especially, the Sugoi, the official Ironman apparel partner, they've got this really nice thin material, and what happens is when you put, that water on yourself, Mike, it's like a second skin. It just sort of sits there, and, yes, we're in a very hot and warm environment, but it sort of somewhat, acts like those arm coolers, those nice white arm coolers. When you put water on them, it tends to cool the skin down. Like you would say, evaporation is better, but for some people, it's a little bit different. Absolutely gorgeous shot right now.
What a beauty.
He's just about to go up a little rise before he gets on top of the Royal Kona Resort, and then he'll go down a little bit of a hill onto the flats. Once he hits Hualalai Road, he'll then get up onto Kuakini Highway, and then he is faced with the inevitable, the biggest hill on the course, which ain't that long, but it is steep.
It feels like it's about 7 miles, so it is a tough little section. What I would point out is, just looking over here, I just caught an eye glimpse of Lindsay Corbin and Natasha Badman coming in within a couple seconds of one another, just entering transition. So the others are 14.5 minutes from leaving transition. So these women have their work cut out for them. Both phenomenal athletes and can certainly run their way into that top 10. Looking back to Luke, these spectators, we've heard from some of our spotters and reporters that there is a wild crowd near the expo area on Elite, and very near the expo area is world famous in triathlon circles, Lava Java. Luke Mckenzie is just about to run past Lava Java as soon as he goes to the bottom of this hill. Funny thing is, we talked about this on the bike course. Sometimes downhills are points of strategy in the race. So it is exceedingly hard, especially later in the day, to run down a hill in an Ironman marathon.
Yes, I mean, all the nutrients have, slowly dissipated, and they've evaporated from the body. I mean, they've been used up, and now, the muscles they're screaming for oxygen, they're screaming for energy. I mean, these muscles now are just locking up. You've got to be very careful about the way that you run, and run down hills especially. You just have to, keep a nice little, keep your posture well, keep your hips right under those ankles, coming right under the hips and everything. But I tell you what, Luke Mckenzie is doing an absolutely fantastic job of it at the moment. We're 6 hours and 15 minutes into the 2013 GoPro Ironman World Championship. Don't go away, everyone. We will
It all started 25 years ago with a sewing machine, a cyclist, a fashion student, and a simple idea: to build a better bike short. And from these humble beginnings, Segoy was born. While our garments have evolved, our core philosophy remains the same. We ride, we run, we make the gear that we want to wear. We're passionate about creating the best product for athletes, by athletes, so you can look and perform your best.
It flew. Fell, dropped, slipped.
It slid out of my hand. My trunks.
My pocket. Parka. Purse.
And sailed, skipped. Whoa.
Bounded.
Bounced.